Welcome back, everyone, to the NJCAAE powered by Esports. My name is Phil, also joined here today by my co-commentator of Boxy. And, well, we've got two completely new teams from what we got to commentate over last week. It is USC Sumter versus Iowa Central. Boxy, it's been a little while, but how are you feeling today, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. But I guess I should be asking you the same thing. It is a special day today, from what I know.
That is
You want
true.
to tell people what it is?
Yeah, today is my day of birth, and it is also the last time we're going to see 02-22-22 for another 200 years or so. I don't remember the official term. Maybe I'll pull it up later for some funny banter, but at
Mm-hmm.
the moment, I am not going to be in the known for that. But hey, what we do know is the map bans here for what we're going into tonight for this best of three. So, Boxy, why don't you take us into what we're going to for these three maps?
Okay, so Bank Oregon were the first to be banned by the teams. So Clubhouse Villa were then selected, Cafe Coast eliminated, and Chalet was left as the decider should we need to actually go to it. Clubhouse Villa, both very standard maps to see, especially in T2, T3, NA, Collegiate. We see them a lot. We've seen them during the invite as well. They were very, very prominently played. Do you have any special opinions on either of the maps?
Not in particular. I know we are ready to get Clubhouse underway, but particularly for both Club and Villa, they're very 50-50 sided. Attackers,
Mhm.
they can get away and have a lot of leniency when they're actually, moving about on the map. And with the new bans that we tend to see, where someone like the Maverick or a Habana is left on the board, one or the other for the most part, it can make the attackers' lives a bit easier as they are, in my opinion, some of the strongest hard breachers in the game. They've both got fantastic secondary utility. Their primary util is also great too. So, it can help out the attacking side in a pretty favorable manner where instead of seeing that 4-2 split, you actually tend to have 3-3. But, before we see any rounds get underway, we have to go through the operator bans first and foremost, which is what we're starting out here for the beginning of this matchup with Sumter on the defense first and Iowa Central on the attack.
Yep. And the first one is gonna be Ying, which is something that you don't generally see, but she has seen some play during the invite, so I guess that makes sense. She is extremely powerful, especially in those lower tiers. She has the Candelas, the LMG with an exceptionally fast reload speed, and obviously the Candelas, which are just amazing. Second one is going to be Thatcher, a little bit more of what you'd expect on Clubhouse. What do you think, 3 and 4?
Well, I would still expect some sort of denial potentially, possibly the Cade, but normally you only ban him if you've had the Maverick off the board as well. Still, personal preference might reign true for tonight. Still, it'll be the Valkyrie first and foremost for the defense, which I'm a big fan of. She's very potent on a map like Clubhouse, especially since a lot of teams like to go on that roam game. The final ban, either going to be probably that Kaid that I talked about earlier, or the Mira, either or, not a bad ban. So everything besides the Ying pick was pretty straightforward, and there we have it. It's now finalized with that Mira. So pretty normal stuff as to, funny enough, what we saw a little while ago, Boxy, when you and I were practice casting over another Clubhouse match for a T1 matchup, matter of fact.
Yeah, indeed. I don't know. The Ying, I kind of wish I would have seen her. If she's getting banned, that means that, some players who have banned her probably have had some bad experiences with her, especially on this map. And I don't know. I don't know if Iowa are the map that, or the team rather, that usually play Ying on this map. I would like to see Ying come out on map 2 and maybe even 3 if we get to it. But it looks like we're going to be casting and seeing CCTV and cash room first, fellow. Pretty standard.
Say, with the fact we could have both a Maverick and Habana on the board, or at least some sort of range hard breach, it does seem a little odd that we're going to CCTV first and foremost.
Mhm.
Not having that Maverick in could be a bit of an issue. There is potential to go underneath and break anything like a mute jam with some soft destruction, so long as no one's extended near lobby or stock. So, it's kind of
Attackers need
free
to locate
range
and defuse
for
the
the moment,
bomb.
at least here on round number one. It might be a bit challenging, though, to actually get rid of those Kaid claws using verticality, so maybe we'll have some grenade play up near the back balcony near the westward side of the map. Either way, though, it's going to be a very timely manner here for Iowa Central to try to get that spot ball opened up, which if they never accomplish at all, this could be a very challenging round for them to actually get on the board to start off in the right direction 1-0.
Can we just quickly talk about how the Melusi was on Clash at first, and then she 6-pick off of it, and that made the attackers change off of Twitch onto Zofia. So great bait with the 6th pick there, because obviously, when you see a Clash, you kind of get stopped in your tracks. You're like, wait, do we have anything to actually deal with that Clash? She could be a huge nuisance for us throughout the round. I expected a Capitao instead of the Zofia, but Zofia also makes a lot of sense. She brings so much utility. She also has that darn LMG that is oh so good when placed in the right hand, and I guess this is what the attackers have to work with now. No Twitch.
Which was, like you mentioned, one of the main things they could have utilized to actually get those jammers or even the Cade Claw off of some of the main walls. But it looks like Iowa Central opting for a bit more of a unorthodox approach. They've got Mr. Bello actually already hopping in towards Stockroom. Kuro's knows a bit of HP, kind of trading blows between himself and the Zofia, but no initial pick just yet. Still just about a minute only being burned off here, and we've already had that slight vertical pressure established, but no one's really droned out the roam game. That's going to allow Sir Decky to get that first blood. Now a second one on the Malusi. Pretty good stuff so far for Sumter, as Iowa Central have no idea what just hit them. There's finally some sort of retaliation up and towards Red Stairs, but it's quickly refragged by Stop Looking At Me, so a pretty strong start here for the defensive side.
At this point, it might be too little too late. It's a 2v4, and the attackers just don't know what to do. They're spaced out. They don't know what to push. The roamers are still running rampant around the map, and they show no signs of slowing down. Both of your attackers are just kind of on that balcony repelled, waiting for picks, waiting if anyone swings, maybe give them a free shot. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think defenders can just, sit tight. They can just wait out the time. We've only seen 90 seconds of the route so far, which means there's 90 more to go, and the defenders are just chilling inside. The magnets are coming out, but the attackers need to start getting aggressive. They need to start isolating those one-on-one picks if they want to even it out and potentially win. However unlikely that is.
Yeah, having both of the lone two attackers just kind of baiting up in towards Platte Wall, it's really not doing them any sort of service. Getting somebody around into the westward window, leading in towards the balcony area could maybe net something, especially since Hell Beetle is playing pretty aggressively in towards Rafters, or trying to clear out Garage to then maybe actually get something to happen here. A bit more map control would be very nice here for the attacking side of Iowa Central. Unfortunately, the Mute's actually playing a floor lower. Luckily, Maxdy was able to notice that, so he wouldn't have died from that Rafters play. He's just sitting behind one of the motorcycles. But still, that 4v2, 40 seconds up on the board, and Iowa Central, they are still just sitting outside of the building, trying to bait for any potential picks. I think finally we have the Ash trying to rotate around.
Okay.
The Ace gets aggressive, though. Weeaboo is going to manage to get rid of the Kaid, but now on just about 1 HP, essentially. It's not looking all too hopeful for Iowa, despite the fact they did find 1 and now 2 picks. There goes the refrag, so now it is just the Ash who's just basically trapped inside of CCTV. The diffuser is not in their back pocket, so they'll have to extend to go for some sort of pick. Hellbeetle spots him out through the verticality hole that they made with an impact grenade, but it's not really going to be able to do anything for the time being. We're now in red time, and there's really nothing left for Iowa Central to do. They'll try to stick the plant, but someone's going to just rush back in towards the site and probably shut that down before it becomes that much of a nuisance. Yep, that's exactly what happens. A quick little melee kill by Sir Decky. It's going to be round number 1, going to the way of the defense.
The thing that I find really interesting is the defense in the end there. They just kind of said, okay, we've wasted so much time. They don't even have the diffuser in pocket. It's in cash. We can just fall back. We've had someone play underneath, and we had someone play in construction. They didn't even contest the site, which I think is smart. Why put yourself in harm's way when you don't need to? You can just chill back, and you can be the one that pushes when the diffuser is getting planted. That is exactly the biggest mistake coming out from Iowa Central there is just having their last 2 remaining players alive on the breach AFK waiting for picks to be given to them for free. When you're down in a 2v4, you need to create those openings for yourself, not rely on the enemy team to give them to you. Also, shout out to the Malusi, Sir Decky. He's been, put in work. He got the entry 2 picks, and then a 3rd one later on, and a 4th one, actually. I think it was a 4K, if I'm not mistaken. So, great start.
And you would be correct. That early on aggression working wonders here for the defense. So Sir Decky will now double down and opt to bring up the Vigil here. So they have the entire map to roam about and just become a nuisance. Luckily, we have Mr. Velo actually on the Jackal, so that could be a direct counter depending on how aggressive Decky will get. But besides that, like I mentioned earlier, he has so much of the building to play with here on Clubhouse that if he never gets dealt with properly by either that Jackal or anyone just doing their proper drone work here, clearing out that roam game, this could be another challenging round for Iowa Central to try to recover from, especially if they lose that first engagement on top of it while going on the roam clear.
It also just depends on how aggressively Sumter like to roam here. We've seen a lot of the games where the defenders just kind of all huddle inside of the bomb site and they just play from there, play hunkered down. We've also seen a bunch of setups, especially during Invite, like when TSM played, where there were just roamers running Ray Pen. Their utility was all throughout the map, and the attackers had to work so much to even get to the bomb site. It looks like it's going to be a combination of both. The Serdeki is on the roam, but he's the only one from what I can tell. Everyone else is just chilling on site, which means Serdeki, if he can replicate his success from round one, he can get a few quick entry picks for his team again, but there's also no one to help him out if he gets caught out, pinched, or anything similar.
Having both his impacts expended, yeah, it's exactly what I assumed. He has some sort of kill hole established through logistics leading down and towards the main hatch. So again, if there is a lack of proper clearage by Iowa Central, which they have a majority of their player base outside, that could actually net Sumter, again, a very early start in terms of the kill department. It looks like we'll have at least someone going up towards Jacuzzi, and they'll finally begin to drone out logistics, but will they spot out the roaming Vigil? No, they actually barely miss him.
Oh,
so
no.
this could be a pretty deadly situation here for Iowa Central, especially since they may have spotted out that Logi kill hole, but they aren't really aware that we still have Serdeki up above waiting to pounce these next couple of seconds.
I mean, if you see the kill hole in the first, 30, 60 seconds of the round, you gotta expect someone still playing there. There's no way they just made the hole and then sprinted around. I don't think anyone does that just for the mind games alone, but Ash is going to be entering into Kitchen, and now it's up to Serdeki to swing when he deems it fit. He spots the drone, but no one is on it, so it doesn't end up mattering. He hears the shots behind him, though. The red things are coming out, and the shots are coming out as well. Sophia will take him out, though, and that is the entry pick going in favor of Iowa Central. If they can keep their advantage, they are good to go for the round. But keep in mind, Dragonfire is very low on HP.
An incredibly close call. Dragonfire, I genuinely have no idea how you won that gunfight, but at least it's going to actually favor Iowa Central here. The only problem is, though, they are relatively low on time. They've got the back hatch opened up and towards Kitchen, I'm assuming by now, potentially not, as actually only have Weeaboo popping out a couple of Selma charges now. They will just begin to try to get the hatch open. No, they haven't cleared up the Cade Claw. So for the time being, they kind of have to funnel in towards both dirt and potentially main stairs as well. They get the triple wall opened up in towards Church. That's a great start, but no one's aware there's a player stacked up in towards Moto, matter of fact. Hellbeetle's watching as well. He's giving plenty of amped information that allows Kuro to now step up big. Finishes off Dragonfire, so we're now on equal footing, but there's basically no time left for Iowa Central to actually get themselves set up in a proper position to clear out either Church or the backside of Arsenal in a timely manner. Stop looking at me, just holding a pretty standard angle, gets rid of Weeaboo. A down and now a confirmed frag here for the castle. A second one in the hands of Kuro. The shotgun gets whipped out here by the mute. That eliminates yet another one, and Kuro, still sitting in Moto, completely uncontested, finds their third, and it's a second round in a row now for Sumter.
Extremely clean round for the defenders once again. They really, even though they, gave away the entry pick kind of for free, Serdeki that very early on, he didn't really contribute to his team, but they still just hunkered down on the bomb side. They played the crosses, they played their utility, and they just won gunfights one by one. The attackers just funneled into them, and it's extremely worrying that Iowa Central didn't have a single way into the bomb side. With 25 seconds remaining, the hatches were closed and cated. The bomb side was castled off. They could only funnel down the Church hallway if they wanted to. So I don't know. They just need to manage their timings, their pacing better. They need to get, the roam clear out of the way faster, and then actually start opening up stuff close to the side, like the hatches, the walls, all the works, fellow.
And normally you can actually clear out that Kaid Claw pretty effectively with a well-tossed nade, but we never saw that happen. Max is highlighting currently the Thorn player, and I am not 100% sure if she's actually allowed in play. We could maybe have that get checked out later on, perhaps, if anyone's able to go check admin-wise. But if there is no protest and there is no, rule to check it, then maybe this could still not be a round sanctioned away from Sumter, but who really knows? I guess only time will tell. We look into that a little while on. Moving in towards Gym and Bedroom, though, here for Sumter. The rest of their lineup, besides that Thorn, looks pretty good overall. I mean, Thorn's a great operator. I just don't know if she's allowed or not, so we're kind of in a gray area of morality. But besides that, Iowa Central, big thing once again, their lack of proper droning. It was seen on round number 1 and round number 2, so I'm feeling this will be a repeating issue now moving into round number 3 as well, because we could almost guarantee some sort of at least light extension, which could lead into a roam, which once again could be deadly for Iowa Central if they do not play their cards right.
Iowa Central seem to know what they are supposed to be doing, but they don't end up quite doing it. They come near it, but they never actually finish it all out. You know, they know what they need to push kitchen
Yep.
when they're attacking defense, but they don't actually clear the hatch or open it up. And they are clearing the breach out now. I think those Habana pellets, okay, they just barely detonate in a way that they can pass through. I was scared that the gap between the X Skyros was just a tiny bit too big and that they would be unable to pass through, which is, you know, it has been an issue with Habana for such a long time. I guess it's their lucky day, though, and they finally got control of cash. They've wasted a middle already, and they haven't even spotted any of the defenders yet, and they need to start pushing up. We still have Thorn hiding in Strip Club as well, and those last second rounds could prove extremely devastating for them.
So long as we have the first pick favor Iowa Central, then this is not a horrible spot to be in. The only issue, though, is I don't think they're aware that we've got the Kaid on the flank here. Gets rid of one, almost outduels the Finka. Finally, that happens. Whips out the 44 Magnum, but unfortunately will miss that one vital shot, so the Finka will be able to revive herself, and they even had backup by Weasley. Case now recovered. It is technically an even situation here, but no one expects Kuro to still be inside of Cash Room. The lack of information, it really is weakening Iowa Central's attack again and again, as we still have Cash Room being held quite effectively here by Kuro, and the man advantage has now been reclaimed by Sumter.
Oof.
They may have finally lost that control inside of Cash as Kuro will try to escape, but unfortunately gets cut down by the sledge. Still, though, a pretty good position overall by Sumter, and they still have a couple of tricks up their sleeves as well.
I mean, at that point, if you're Kuro, just stay in cash, you know, waste as much time as you can. Mr. Belloc actually gets a double on the sledge, and now it's somehow winnable for you attackers. They have the man advantage, and they have a lot of time to work with. Jaeger's still in the bomb side. The Nader coming out with ADSs won't stop them. Jaeger swings and does so much damage to the Finka, but she's still alive. She can still heal up. On the other side, we have Thorn flanking, and that could prove absolutely devastating if Thorn just pushes up at the right second. The attackers are kind of stalling, though, and they only have 2 pushing construction. I don't know where the third one is exactly. Thorn now sprinting through the plank. He gets the drones. Jaeger gets 1, and it's a 2v2 with 25 seconds left.
Oh, there's no way they don't hear him. All right, luckily the Ash were able to spot out Decky trying to go on the flank here. They're positioned in such a way they could actually win that fight, but no, they're going to lose to Decky. It's a 1 versus 2 now. At least we're going to have fun. Get rid of 1 here on such low HP, though. No more Adrenaline Surges to boot. They're going to have to survive on just that sliver of health, and the plant will be going down. I don't know if Decky can actually stop it. Nope. Luckily, they will be able to adjust the right time. It's a 3rd round win in a row, and if we have the Thorn actually relegated from comp play, we would probably see a pause right now, but I guess not. So maybe in NJCAAE it's actually allowed. So that's going to be a 3rd official round win in a row for Sumter. Pretty good stuff so far on their defense.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta give it to Iowa as well. They have brought the previous round so much closer than they have rounds 1 and 2, so I guess it's heading in the right direction for them. It's just a matter of, you know, it's a question of whether they can actually get a few rounds in before the split, before the side switches, before they go on defense, because attack on Clubhouse, you need to win at least a few rounds. We're seeing Surdeki, though, on the 6th pick, once again. This time, it's from Vigil on to Malusi, and I'm actually excited to see what havoc he manages to wreak on his flanks, because that's probably what he's gonna go for. He did the last time they defended church, right?
I believe so. We had Decky just rotate around. I believe he just was aware that it was mostly a stock push by Iowa Central. He got 2 picks, ran away back towards site, and then he, I believe, played underneath again. If not, no, it was actually Beetle who played underneath near one of the bomb chassis of B, and we actually had Decky play inside of Con Room. Thank you again, Max. Always the assist to a layup that we're attempting here in this metaphorical basketball game. So, if Decky is once again not dealt with properly, it's going to be a huge issue for Iowa. We have seen countless times Decky stepping up when needed most, and the rest of his team just doing whatever else is necessary, in particular Kuro, who's now the 2nd top fragger in the entire game. No one else has been able to kind of get past the precipice of 2 to 3 picks overall. So in general, really good stuff by Sumter. They've been able to adapt when needed to. They've been able to rotate at the ample times and also just get the picks required to win out the round simply by brute force. So hey, once again, got to give credit where credit is due, and I'm really hoping we have Iowa Central also adapt in some way, shape, or form. But for the time being, it looks like they're going to be up to their old habits, trying to clear out stock room first and foremost here around number 4.
Speaking of Iowa and adaptation, I respect that they're going for at least somewhat default operator picks, but at this point, you're just being punished for not having any intel. Swap out one of your soft destructors. You know, you have Ash, Sledge, and Sophia. Swap out one of them for an intel operator, be that a Lion or a Nomad or a Gridlock even. Just have something to help you out. Sandcams could do so much if you just, brought zero, placed them up on the flanks, because you keep getting punished by those flanks and by the lack of intel. So something needs to change on that front, I feel like.
Especially when you can also utilize some of those SAM cams to actually clear through any utility. It looks like Mr. Velik will actually clear through 2 of the main roamers. The top fraggers that I was just talking about of Deki and Kuro are going to fall instantly by the hands of Velik. That is a phenomenal opening so far by Iowa Central, but they still need to get at least one more avenue of approach, and I think they'll opt in towards Platwall for that endeavor. If they only get control of cons, then we could have someone playing Rafters to deny that entryway, and it looks like off screen we'll have Hellbeetle actually get rid of Dragonfire all the way towards Garage. So not completely over just yet for Sumter. They are still at that man disadvantage, but until we see some proper pressure established here by the attacking side, it's really anyone's game for the time being.
That's great coming out, sadly not really dealing much damage, but the effort was there, and the Finka's pushing up. The second grade comes out, sadly doesn't hit. Mr. Vala comes out with a nade of his own, but it gets caught by the magnet, and somehow, someway, he gets on a drone and isn't punished for it. How do you almost not get away with that? I don't get that. Omai, though, swinging from the side, but Valak is ready. He gets the triple on the round for himself. This could potentially be an ace, but not anymore. Habana gets one of her own, and the second one, so it's 3 for Sledge, 2 for Habana, and the first round going to Iowa Central.
And I mean, they picked the perfect moment to actually start that roam clear. That is the one thing I liked. I did kind of, I got a bit too harsh, I suppose, when I was saying, nope, they're up to the same old intentions. At least they had some sort of roam clear being dealt with towards the backside. That was something new, and that was something that changed for their attack overall in round number 4, and it actually netted them 2 early picks. And although Sumter had some sort of reply to that, it wasn't anything loud enough to really catch the attention of Iowa Central. They got Platte Wall opened up, so they had a second entryway, and their position in con was never dealt with either. We had Velik actually get even more aggressive and win the gunfight against Yosha as well. So great recovery by Iowa Central. They're not out of this fight just yet, as they're at least able to find some sort of success moving into their attacking side. Let's just hope they can keep that up, because if there was one round in particular where we saw a lot of troubles by Iowa Central, it has to be on this site of Church and Arsenal.
I'm extremely torn here, John, because on one hand, Iowa finally got their first round. They've showed some signs of life, at least at this point, but on the other hand, they've also shown absolutely zero adaptability. They just said, Velik, go kill, he got 3, and then Weeaboo was there to kind of help clean it up. There wasn't really any adaptability coming out from them. No intel still, no flank drones from what I've seen. Very little droning early on in the round. It's just, hey, we need to go there, we need to breach this, and we will not use the drones that are at our disposal, and I am flabbergasted by that, frankly. But they got their first round on the board. Let's not harp on them too much. Let's see if they can get at least one more in this split.
I think one easy change is getting rid of either the Ash or Zofia, depending on what you prefer, and just maybe having someone like the Ayana or the Jackal. Even you mentioned the Sam Fisher as well. With the fact we haven't seen a lot of Jaeger and Wilmai at the exact same time, nor really a lot of heavy util, just more of a minute presence, more or less on the roam game instead, you could get away with not having a lot of nade spam or really any spam in general, and just have something for better intel gathering. Maybe the Jackal would for once actually be a better pick in comparison to the Ayana, or hell, even a Lion would be pretty sufficient here as well. Just something to help you out. That way you don't lose a player early on or just get caught off guard by some random player sitting in a rat corner. Anything to help out the overall fight would really go a long way. Luckily, in this first minute, no one has dropped a single bit of HP nor blood so far. That's not too bad at all for Iowa Central, and they've already gathered a fair amount of map control, but I think that has something to do with more or less the fact that Sumter, they really aren't opting to go for a heavy roam game this round. It looks like they're having a bigger emphasis here on the anchor game, which so far is going to suit them quite well, as they haven't lost anybody just yet, so they can actually play the numbers game for the time being.
I'm a huge fan of Sumter just bringing the castle out once again. I was telling you about this right before we went live, actually. I was like, post rework, we've seen Castle get so much love. He's actually being brought out by some T3, T2, and even pro teams during Invite, and we've seen so many elaborate setups with him. But Jaeger will fall by Dragonfire. Nice shot there. Nice entry for Iowa Central, excuse me. Once again, can they actually capitalize on that? No, Velik be the first one to fall in. The refrag, Hellbeetle gets 1. But the Ash is there to at least equalize the Mancana once again. 70 seconds left, and the attackers need to start pushing into the bomb site.
The second time we've seen Kuro just sit up on the Moto boxes and just simply not be punished until it was far too late. It is a 3 versus
Good
3,
for
don't
them,
get me
bro.
wrong. That's not completely horrible here for Iowa Central, but as they lose another one, this time by Hellbeetle, things are looking much more challenging for them. The only one left alive is currently Weeaboo. They might opt to go for a plant in the back of boxes. They're going to be able to get spotted up by that Yokai, but it gets destroyed, so the plant cannot be denied just yet. But even when you set yourself up in that post-plant position, you are basically trapped in the back of church. So if you have some sort of double-pronged approach here by Sumter and they just play for the man advantage, it's going to be basically just a position where you cannot leave from. Yeah, you have a couple of flashbangs, maybe some drones to watch your six, but other than that, this is not a very good position to be in. And there is still a second Yokai on the board. Weeaboo just trying to bait that Yokai concussive blast pardon. And now we're in the red time. Weeaboo, they really are limited on their options. They'll still try to stick the plant, and Sir Decky is just playing in this position so well with that Echo drone. Stop Looking At Me is beginning to now aggress on towards the Havana. They'll go for a wall bang. It's not going to connect just yet, but at least the Yokai will to deny the plant, therefore giving USC Sumter their 4th round in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, masterfully played in those last 30, 40 seconds. I feel like the fact that K just stayed inside with Echo, he was being patient. He wasn't swinging necessarily. Had a C4 in pocket, and it could have been extremely tempting to, try and get a kill with that, but he just trusted his Echo. He covered him instead, and Echo did all the work on those drones. And the first Echo drone got destroyed as soon as Weeaboo got into the side, but the second one, he just dribbled around Weeaboo so hard, and Weeaboo could not find his shots onto it. He could not. I don't even think Weeaboo saw it. Not only that he couldn't hit it. Such a clean round for the defenders. And we are on the last round of the half already, John. We're seeing a 6 pick onto Capcan. Sir Decky has really been so flexible with all these operator picks. We've seen him 6 pick onto something new almost every round so far, including a Thorn, by the way.
And I think one of the things I actually like about the Capcan pick is how inconspicuous it can be, depending on where you position those EDDs. We have seen a lot of misinformation gathered by Iowa Central. That has been their biggest issue, because they can shoot back, and we have seen them equalize the man count several times, even if they make the first mistake, or rather actually get the first pick. So having that Capcan for the late game is probably going to do much more for your person in comparison to the Malusi, especially since we've had a lot of funnels actually happen by Iowa Central. So you don't need those Banshees to actually gather information. Instead, you have those EDVs to actually lighten the load here in terms of how much damage you need to deal. And even though you're going to have Adrenaline Surge that could maybe boost up somebody completely, if you're able to stack up 2 EDDs, that could just outright kill somebody. So starting off with a man advantage is something you're never going to want to actually, move away from as a defender. So, hey, if they're able to get that in terms of a Capcan trap detonating, then, hey, by all means, you got to play into what strengths you can have and what cards you brought to the game, too.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. We see a pretty standard setup coming out from the defense. The cash roll, the external one is electrified reinforced, but there is no actual reinforcements or any utility as far as I can tell in cash helping out the Cade. So if he gets pushed out by more than 2-3 attackers, I think he could just get overrun, lose his life early on. But we have seen him get quite a few nice picks so far, so maybe let's not just count him out. Logi Hatch will be open, and the Jaeger is playing it patiently, but his foot gets spotted, the yellow ping is there, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's a grenade flying out his way. But Kuro actually gets the entry, and that is the Sophia falling once again. 2-6 currently. You just cannot have your Sophia dying on entry as early as she is. Kuro will get pushed out by those mana pallets, but they still need to actually try and get him. The pressure itself is not enough. You need to go for those frags. You need to start establishing some control, and Iowa hasn't done any of that as of yet.
So luckily there is still plenty of time to potentially recover that man deficit. We've got a couple of players stacked up towards the main balcony, but nobody checks for Kuro yet again. There's no crossfire established, no nothing. It's a light funnel trying to work their way towards cons, and they will be punished for it. Once again, 5 versus 3 now for Sumter. Don't get me wrong, there's still enough time to potentially gather information and maybe cut off this castle player, but they're not doing it just the ample time. Finally, we see Enchiro get a bit aggressive and finally get rid of this nuisance that we've had Iowa Central deal with a majority of this round, but now Velik gets down by, I believe, a Nitrocell, or at least someone shooting them outside of the building. It was actually Hellbeetle, my mistake, not a Capcan trap. So essentially a 4v2 with about a minute left on the board. Pretty good stuff once again by Sumter. All they need to do is hold down the fort and just sit there and look pretty. And unfortunately, Stop Looking At Me is not going to be looking all that pretty with a bullet now in between his skull. And the same thing now goes for Hellbeetle as well. 2 versus 2.
Mr. Valk is still down. He could get picked up. That is exactly what they go for, but they're running out of time. 40 seconds left. They need to actually group up. They need to go for those refrags. The Capcan is playing a feet angle, and he can see before you can see him, so you need to be wary of those. Drones need to come out, and that is not something we've seen Iowa Central utilize just yet. Surdaki gets one, and now it's an actual 2v2 with both the attackers being extremely low on HP, and Surdaki once again just falling down. He can either go for a run out or just play C4 from below. The sledge will drop down. Surdaki's ready for him though, and it's all up to the Ash to try and clutch it up. She finds the first one. Can she get the second one? No, the Jaeger is there. He's ready, and this is a 5-1 split for the defense here, fellow.
And I mean, the exact same thing happened once again for USC. They just had everyone force themselves to isolate and go for 1-for-1 picks. There wasn't a lot of time to spare. And then it was a player stuck on about 5 HP trying to go for a plant in a 1 versus 1. And their position was well known by the Jaeger player this time around instead of the Thorn. Once again, playing really well into the lack of time management that we've seen from Iowa Central. That's been another big issue for them. So now moving in towards the defensive side, the time will actually favor them rather than have it be basically one of their main enemies they have to deal with this time around. This could maybe be the turning point for them, but it is still a pretty big hill they have to climb. It's a 4-round deficit, and if they win 4 in a row, that will still only equalize. And don't get me wrong, I like the castle pick, but I feel like the smoke is going to have much more value in comparison to FBI operators. So you really need to question that pick, because that is probably your main set of denial, taken off the board for really no good reason in particular, Boxy.
We'll see how it works out. Just to quickly summarize, though, Iowa are now in defense, and on attack they had 3 main problems. First was their pacing just wasn't good, okay? They wasted so much time on small stuff, and then they just ran out of time to actually push the side. Second one was no intel whatsoever, and third one was apparent comms issues. I don't think I can count on one hand how many times Kuro was just ratting in a random common corner, and he got a kill, and then he got a second kill off of that, because the attackers just weren't even turning towards him, which means that information just wasn't being relayed. Not only was Iowa already low on the intel from the get-go, they weren't sharing it with each other as well. And they can fix all of that on defense, but they do have their job cut out with them. And let's see if they can maybe start bringing in some work in this catch defense. The C4 coming out for the rotate is something that I'm not a fan of, especially when you have a mute, but he's bringing the MP5K. You need to be aware of that. I'm not sure if that was a tactical choice or a mistake, but either way, a C4 has now been extinguished, and it's all up to the one that Mute is currently holding.
So much utility just being wasted early on by Iowa. I mean, even if we didn't have Mute with the shotgun, which is the case right now, we still could have had the castle with a secondary shotgun, or if they didn't have a castle, then they could have kept the smoke instead. A lot of questions to be had with probably no answer in sight. A nade being wasted as well by Surdaki, so it's not just a one-side favoritism and towards Util just flat out being wasted. That grenade was way too far back to actually connect onto that Electro Claw, but the Maverick will still begin his due diligence and try to get this main wall opened up for his Thermite. I mean, if he can just use his blowtorch to get rid of the actual metallic part of that plat wall, then the Thermite could just detonate something with his ectothermic charge and have the wall opened up despite this electricity. So it's not the end of the world here for Sumter. They just have to pick up the pace because it's already a minute 40 on the board, and Surdaki almost gets himself totally electrified to a point where he gets DBNO, but luckily that's not going to be the case this time around.
We've seen him get kills with last HP. I wouldn't cut him out just yet, but he's also on the drone, and that is something that we haven't really seen Iowa Central do all that much. Maybe Sumter can show them how it's done, because information, and I can stress this enough, in Rainbow Six Siege, information, drones, cameras are so extremely important, you can't just neglect them. This is not something you can say, hey, we don't like playing with this, you know, we can do something else. Scummy gets one on the realm, though, and it is the early lead for them as the Twitch will fall, excuse me, there's Weebu knows where the second one is. He's going for the swings, but Daki's solo. He just decides to live to fight another day, and a nice shot onto the Jaeger to equalize things out at 50 seconds.
But the only problem here for Sumter is they've just wasted so much time trying to get that plat wall opened up, and from the looks of it, I'm not 100% certain if it was actually. No, I believe it actually was the exothermic charge to get rid of it. No, it wasn't. I thought it might have been a nitro cell and impact grenade, and I was correct because we still have the thermite with both charges in pocket. Here comes Dragonfire from the middle of lobby to get rid of Yosha. So now things are back in the favor of Iowa Central, and there really is only a handful of directions that Sumter can approach upon. They lost their player inside of Platte Wall. Now it's just up to the people on the sub balcony to try to make ends meet. Case now drops, so maybe we'll have someone try to recover it. Curl lands a nice wall bang shot between sites and now tries to get aggressive. Bellic is here at the ready, but they lose that fight. That is massive here for Sumter. I'm not too sure they're aware, though, that Dragonfire is underneath. They've got the Nitro Cell ready, but Sir Decky, he thought 2 steps ahead of that plan. He does not plant inside of default, but it's only Sir Decky left to stand. They get the plant down. They're aware of the mute's position, but they are on such little HP. They don't want to risk trying to run outside and playing for that diffuser. Instead, they'll just sit nice and close. They're aware that there's no shotgun in play. They could maybe win this gunfight so long as they connect onto that head, or at least waste a fair amount of time. He hears the audible call, but looks the wrong direction. He had to pick between both the bomb site direction, or the one that was closer towards him, and he guessed incorrectly in the 50-50 chance. Dragonfire, having plenty of time left to defuse, will give the second round to the way of Iowa as they start off in a pretty okay manner, considering most. So, hey, at least they got their first defensive round as a win rather than a loss.
Yeah, going into round 7, we were both harping on Iowa for their picks, you know, the 6th pick off of the smoke onto the castle, the need to use one of the 2 C4s that they had brought for the rotation into garage. All of that was very questionable, but in the end, it was the C4 itself that, you know, while it may not have gotten a kill, I think it still kind of put the fear into God in them. And when Mute came up through the cache stairs, he got the first kill, and I think round was won then. I think it was Sir Decky on the Maverick was so very low on HP. He was on literally a pixel of it. There were no Kona stations nearby to heal himself up a little bit, and it was just such a tough position to be in. So great round from the defenders, and that is not something that I thought I'd say after the first few rounds. But here we are. Iowa can still bring this back, force overtime, maybe even somehow, someway one-up Clubhouse, John.
The fact that we just had Sumter waste so much time doing absolutely nothing, that was just the main reason why they lost that round. If they managed to get the main wall and Platte opened up in the first minute and then began to rotate around, probably would have been a completely different story, but they wasted far too much time. They began to just get lazy in terms of droning and proper information gathering, and they honestly got lucky in terms of winning a couple of those 1v1 gunfights. So good on Dragonfire to at least deny that clutch from happening in the pocket of, I believe it was Decky who was on the Maverick. He's now opting to go for the Montaigne. Funny enough, one of your top fraggers actually going to be a gun down for a majority of these rounds. That's definitely a questionable option, but maybe it can work out. This is probably one of the more Montaigne favored maps, Clubhouse, so this could work put in the right hands, but do I think Sir Decky is that person? Only time will tell, I suppose, Boxy.
It seems Decky has been by far the most flexible player on his team. We have seen him 6-pick from a Clash onto a Legion, and then a Malusi, and then a Capcan, and then he's been on a Maverick on attack, and now he's on Monty. He literally just plays anything that his team needs him to play. And while maybe that's not something you want to have your top fragger do, I still think it's, a great thing to actually have someone that can do that, because so many players are just stuck in their roles, stuck in their ways, and they can just simply pick up other operators at the snap of their IGL's fingers. Not Sir Decky, though. He definitely can, and he's overextended so far into blue. His teammates are there supporting him on the stairs, but without ample control, no breaches, this could prove fatal to him. There's no one actually up close, and he gets a little bit of HP chipped off early on without actually contributing anything to the round as of yet.
Thankfully, he hasn't actually fallen to the wayside just yet. Oh, such an important fight needed to be won there. It's not going to be the case. Bellic lines up 2 freebies. Almost a third as Sir Decky tries to get a bit aggressive. Luckily, we have Yosha with the DMR on Buck. He actually nets that pick on the Malusi. Technically even footing, but not for much longer. Iowa Central reclaim the lead once again, and yeah, you try to pick up the pace by basically waltzing into blue almost for free, but it's not going to work out in the slightest. Now you have Sir Decky trying to back up Hellbeetle, who's still basically cubbied up in towards Dirt Tunnel, but it is still a 1 versus 3 essentially, since you have that gun down. Sir Decky is basically just a walking piece of information to gather, a living drone, so to speak. They'll manage to snuff out the Kaid. They can maybe isolate a 1 versus 1. Sir Decky will try to do that as Hellbeetle is still waiting for someone to actually back up the Kaid. It's a melee kill, kill here for the Montaigne. Now to 1 versus 2, but unfortunately that melee is not going to connect on towards the Thunderbird. It'll be a second round win now in a row as the defensive side of Iowa are really picking up the pace here in this second half.
I'm super glad to see this. We always hate to cast one-sided games, and somehow, some way, Iowa Central actually looked on track to bring in this back. And as I was complimenting Sumter on how they were, better at utility and droning, they just seemed to prove me wrong. I think they heard me and just said, "No, we don't do that here," because they've just been sprinting into the side. They haven't cleared anything, fellow. They just kind of walked down those blue stairs with the Monty, and I don't know why. Why would you do that? That baffles me. But nonetheless, it is another round for Iowa, with currently sitting at a 5-3 split. Sumter need one more round to push this onto match point, and Iowa need 2 more to tie this up. What do you think happens first? I forgot to ask career predictions before we started the game today.
Man, I really don't know. Sumter, they're really getting tunnel visioned. I thought Iowa weren't doing great on their attack. Neither is Sumter. Normally, if you're going to go attack the basement floor, you save blue for last. You normally get kitchen and then either triple wall opened up leading into church, or you go through kitchen then dirt. One or the other, normally, or pardon, both, not just one or the other, and then you go to blue later on to not basically funnel yourself. So it's very odd to me that we had Sumter try to do the exact opposite, and the reason why it didn't work because there wasn't enough pressure to apply in towards the site itself from both blue and dirt. So moving in towards gym and bedroom, I hope they just go for the default stuff. They try to get jacuzzi wall opened up, and then they move around in towards cash room. I'm just hoping we see that from them, because I feel like if they play in a more controlled environment, they can net those picks in order to win out the round, because they still have the best fraggers, despite the fact they've lost 2 rounds in a row. Serdecki is the only one with double digits, and Kuro is not that far behind him. But now we're seeing a bit of a bite back by Iowa Central as well, with Weeaboo actually getting 9 picks here on the hard support role. So there is some ample reason as to why Iowa Central have been able to claim some of these rounds against their opponents, but it's not completely because they are outbesting Sumter. They are making plenty of mistakes on their own as well.
Yeah. Speaking of Kuro and Serdecki, first of all, I'm a huge fan of the Nomad pick. I've been speaking about Nomad when Iowa Central were attacking, and I do think she's extremely strong, even on a map like Clubhouse when there's not a lot of roam going on in most games. But also, Serdecki seems to have learned his lesson. He's not on the Monty anymore. He's going to bring a sledge. He's going to have 2 grenades. Well, 1 now because he's already used 1. And he's still going to have a gun that he can actually shoot with. And that could be a make or break for USC Sumter's attacks here on Clubhouse, fellow.
So far, so good. We've got the jacuzzi wall, I believe, opened up. I'm not too sure if that wall is glitched or not. It could actually be an immovable object at this point. A drone has hopped through it, so potentially you could vault through it. I'm not too sure on that. Ubisoft has got plenty of bugs in its game, so this might be an unfortunate predicament here for the attacking side of Sumter. Only time will tell, as they haven't entered the building just yet from that direction. They could always rotate around and go main and then still try to clear out cash room. That wouldn't be a horrible idea, but to be able to do all of that map manipulation in this last minute of the round, it is a lot to ask for, even though no one has died just yet here on the side of Sumter. So it is all for not just yet, but they've really got to pick up the pace if they want to actually get this round as a victory.
Yeah, Serdecki is entering strip, and I think he's just going to go for one of those pushes, last second up the main stairs. But Dragonfire is there. He's ready to contest that, should need be. He just needs to turn in the right direction, and that is exactly what Serdecki is going for before. He's even being droned in, and that isn't something we've seen a lot.
So eventually he'll get the lag detected fixed at some point. And he's back.
There we go.
We're good.
Hell yeah, I'm sorry about that. Anyways, 25 seconds left. The entry pick finally went in favor of USC Sumter, and they get a second one. Decky is on fire now that he actually has a gun to shoot. Mr. Vela takes a lot of damage, but thankfully the Kona Station is coming in clutch. 5v2 though, make that a 5v1 as Squirrel gets one as well. The plant is going down, and now the Thunderbird has to clutch it out, but she won't even get the first one, and it's a flawless for Sumter as they somehow, someway bring it back and push it to match point, John.
So thankfully they were able to actually get through Jacuzzi. That was a huge positive, but they didn't just tunnel in through that part of the map. They also had control of the middle floor near bar. They went up main stairs. They did a relatively proper attack. They did ignore cash room, but that did play into their strengths as there was really no rotation done at all by Iowa Central. They thought their middle floor presence was going to be enough to actually deny any roam clear that we would have had happen in that middle ground. But unfortunately, it was the exact opposite as to what was the case. So now we're finally on match point here for Sumter. A 3-round deficit is nowhere as bad as, a 4 or almost 5-round deficit as it almost was. But finally, we have the 6th round in the bag, despite it almost happening much earlier in map number 1. So a pretty big task for the side of Iowa to try to actually accomplish here. They need to win out 3 more rounds in a row just to guarantee overtime, let alone win out the first map in their pocket. Might not actually happen unless they just keep playing into their strengths and keep allowing Sumter just to make the same mistakes they have been doing over and over and over again.
Okay, quick question. Do you think this is the end for Iowa Central on this map at least? Because keep in mind it is a best of 3. We have Villa coming up next. But do you think Sumter win this one on their attacking? Do they finish it out 7-3? Or do we see some more life coming out of Iowa Central? They have shown us that they can get a few rounds. But is that it? Or can they do more?
Simply put it, Sumter, they are just way too slow in their attacks. They take forever to get inside of the building. If we don't see the pace being picked up at all by Sumter, then this could easily be another round win for Iowa Central, because what I mentioned earlier, how they've been able to pick up in terms of the kill department, that has also been a huge net buff for them as well. Not only have they been able to force things into the last 20 seconds of a majority of these rounds, but other than Gym and Bedroom, they were also able to get the first opening pick. So they've been playing on their defensive side much better in comparison to the first half. But it already looks like Sumter, they don't want to try to make the same mistake twice. They are going to be instantly trying to open up this back wall of Platt leading in towards CCTV, and I don't think they're going to waste the Thermite's time in this endeavor. I think they've got the Zofia to back up Hellbeetle here as well, so this wall could get opened up almost instantly. And hey, speaking of instant things to happen, it looks like Yosha will actually get the first opening pick pretty much instantly for his team as well. So this is a fantastic position to be in for Sumter.
Yeah, and Trio going down so fast is horrible. First of all, the Kate can't Kate trick anymore, and more importantly, the C4 is off the board before being thrown. Like you said, the Maverick already doing work on the wall super early on. Now Thermite is ready to actually open it up, and there aren't many people actually playing on site coming out from deep, and they're all kind of scattered across. You know, you have 2 people waiting for that construction push. You have someone playing below, no one's contesting the side. There's finally one person making it back to side, but Serdecki's ready for them, and while Mute gets one, Serdecki gets a second one. And it's just all falling apart for Iowa Central on match point here, fellow. The plant is going down. 1 minute, 25 seconds left, and it's all up to Scammy, Viaboo, and Dragonfire to clutch this one out. The plant sticks. 4v2, and now attackers just need to sit patient. They need to have the crosses established. They can still use their utility. Mute is going to push from construction, and Jaeger is on top of red stairs. They need to go for the swings. Now is no time to stall. The first one comes out from Mute. Can he get more? He swings in the right direction. Pre-fire is coming out. Jaeger gets one as well, and so all of a sudden it's a 2v2 with 25 seconds left. Only 7 needed to defuse. Mute pushes up, and he somehow spots the Thermite. That's a triple for him, and Jaeger gets down. That's a quad for the Mute as they somehow clutch this one out, but they don't know where the diffuser is. They have plenty of time. There we go. They find it, and somehow Iowa Central keep themselves afloat for just one more round, fellow. I honestly have no clue how.
Only by the sheer fact that we didn't see a proper setup for that post plant. You have full site control. You can plant wherever you want to. And they picked probably the worst position to actually plant. You have someone on Platt Wall. You have someone who recently hopped out through the main balcony. Yet you don't plant default in CCTV. Instead, you plant in a very unorthodox crevice inside of Cash Room. That was such a big oversight because Sumter, they really had that round in the palm of their hand. They had 2 beautiful opening picks. They had great map control and then site presence. Yet they didn't play into that strength once they got the plant down. They were just in awkward corners where they couldn't really move around, and it allowed Iowa Central to really bully them into submission there. That was a phenomenal recovery by Iowa Central, but yet again, we kind of had the attacking side of Sumter allow them to recover yet again. So it's not completely over just yet, but hey, at least in the beginning parts of the round, we are seeing Sumter actually get aggressive at the right moments. They just seem to forget about the bigger picture once they get in that post plant position.
Yeah, to play devil's advocate for Sumter here. You know, once they open the breach and they open the CCTV window and jump in, I don't think you expect no one whatsoever to be on the side. You expect the defenders to be holding cash, to be in server or garage, and when you get the opportunity to plant, you just plant wherever you can. That is exactly what Sumter did. But no one from Iowa Central was actually on site contesting those pushes, and I think that is what kind of threw Sumter off, and they were like, we have so much free real estate to work with, where do we plant now? Okay, just plant wherever you are. They didn't take the time to clear all the corners, and while no one was there, they still planted in a bad spot, like you said. I think that was like the biggest breaking point for them last round, but somehow, like I said, Iowa Central won the round. They clutched a 2v5, and they got themselves another round. They're still in match point. If they lose, they're still out on game 1, or map 1 rather, but they only need 2 more to tie it up, fellow. Is it possible? I think it's slowly but surely becoming feasible.
I think they're bringing out the rook for impact tricking, but it is kind of a waste of time, so to speak, when there's a Habana on the board. Depending on how sluggish Sumter are on round number 11, it actually might work out, perhaps, because like I've mentioned earlier, we've had a couple of rounds where Sumter, they take way too much time getting a simplistic thing done, like getting plat wall opened up. This time around, though, we have seen a bit of change by them, so it hasn't been as much of a timely manner when getting these basics accomplished for their side. So this could be a bit of a waste, perhaps, by Iowa Central. Maybe bring out something like the Jaeger, perhaps, or really anything but the Rook could have suited them much more favorably for this anchor-based setup. Only time will tell, perhaps. At least Dragonfire is able to get a very aggressive peek out through dirt to get rid of Hell Beetle. That's a beautiful start here for the defensive side, but they need to make sure they don't lose any life in this middle part of the round, because they don't have any roam presence, and it's only a matter of time before we see some sort of vertical destruction. But it might not be a lot, because there's no breaching charges on the round and no Sledge or Buck either for Sumter. This could be a pretty big upset as well, Boxy.
Not only was the man advantage lost from the side of Sumter, they've also lost the grenades, and the only pair they brought was on Hell Beetle. Every time I say Hell Beetle, by the way, I think of Hellby, the ex-Vitality coach, and it's throwing me off here, but it is what it is. 5v4, Iowa Central got the entry. Can they keep it up? You've pointed this out, but I just want to stress on this. They have 3 sets of impacts and then 2 C4s. They're going all explosive, and that could end up working for them if they end up using them, but we've seen them die with C4s and impact so very often that I think we only see 2, maybe 3 thrown out. Kuro gets 1 though, and equalizes the Mancan out, but not for long as the mute is ready. He gets another one. He's going absolutely nuclear up on Clubhouse so far. The flashes are coming out, and the Moto drop is soon to follow, Phil, but will it be enough? 35 seconds left.
Plenty of time left for Sumter to potentially get inside of the objective and maybe go for a plant potentially, but they do not have the man advantage at the slightest. Have funds in to get rid of Sir Decky. 2 versus 4 now. Both the Habana and Nomad are pretty away from one another, essentially. Now just about 15 seconds left. Must have fun. Gets a second one here on the round, and it's only Kuro left to stand. The fact that they only had Moto and also main control because that dirt presence was completely denied by Dragon is just going to basically make this push in towards the site futile and unsuccessful in every which way. Another round in the books for Iowa Central. And like you mentioned earlier, one more, potentially we could see overtime happen. But I'm not too sure if we're going to have Sumter let this one slide, because we are heading now in towards either Bar, which is a site a lot of teams don't like to go inside of T4, or we go to Gym and Bedroom, which was a site previously won by Sumter. So this could end up being, unfortunately, a 7-5 victory for Sumter. But hey, actually almost got to see Stage and play, but unfortunately it was just a joke, just a bait by Iowa Central. It looks like they'll opt to go for that top floor of Gym and Bedroom.
Sedge, we gotta give credit where credit is though. You must have fun on the third Thunderbird. Swinging under the motor hatch was absolutely relentless and crucial for Iowa Central last round. So props for getting those kills. They were absolutely huge. And also, I don't know if you heard and saw, but once we were in I think it was a 4v1, once only the Nomad of Kuro was left alive, those impacts were actually being thrown in her direction just to keep her off from pushing up. So I guess to some extent, Iowa ended up using those explosives, even though they, could have brought a shield or a barb or beepers or a camera or literally anything else, I guess. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But like you said, we almost saw Bar. It is instead going to be Gym and Master Bedroom. Can they defend it? They've previously lost it, but if they get it now, they force overtime, and they could very well bring an end, a premature end, to Sumter on their own map pick.
So we would definitely a huge kick in the head for Sumter because they were really looking sharp in the first half and then they kind of just died down. Both teams not doing that well overall in their attacking side. So these defender favored positions might actually favor a couple of either one of these two teams moving into the second map. But we are still here in Clubhouse, so I'm not going to speculate all that much moving forward, I suppose. Gym and bedroom, that is site we're actually to be in play here. And Sumter had a pretty effective take in both the jacuzzi wall and also the bottom slash mid floor of bar leading in through strip. So if we see that repeated, this might be a pretty good round win for them overall. But I mean, that's just such high speculation. I'm not really too sure how Sumter actually want to approach upon this take. It looks like they have a majority of their player base stacked up in jacuzzi, so they'll get that main wall opened up pretty early on. But other than that, it doesn't really look like they have that much of an approach to really anywhere but jacuzzi. But that was a hilarious mischarge there by Stop Looking at Me.
Well, I guess at least it's a Selma, you can pick it up, but pick it back up. Excuse me. If it was like an X Skyros, you couldn't do that. So I guess there's that. But you said most of Sumter is stacking up on the jacuzzi wall, and that is exactly what they have done in the round that they've previously won. And they've won it by the skin of their teeth, but they have won it. Can they replicate their success? The nades are coming out, presumably to get rid of all the mutes and any other potential utility, and it looks like it's going to be successful, which means they can now drone in gym, drone in master bedroom, drone in bathroom. There's just so much that you can drone out, so much intel that you can get here, and we still have Dragonfire playing below just like he did last round, so hopefully Sumter forgot all about that by now, because if they push him out, if they punish him for it, it could be absolutely devastating for the defense of Iowa Central. But Sophia's looking to do just that, and the flashbangs are coming out. Hellbeetle's still patient on that breach, just waiting for someone to swing him, but no one is doing just that. A few wall bangs into bathroom, though. He could deal a lot of damage to the Thunderbird, who's been playing there very patiently, not really contesting the breach so far.
Still 5 versus 5. We have a bit of information being gathered on someone's presence on the middle floor. That's about it, though, so far here for Sumter. They are still spending a lot of time outside of the building, really not getting a lot accomplished here. A second drone will now be sacrificed in order to gather some extra information here. Finally, Serdeki will enter the building, and Kuro was attempting to, but he'll lose his life. Beautiful shot landed here by Dragon. Not a second one, though. At least Weeaboo's there to refrag. 2 versus 4 now, with Sumter in a pretty precarious position here. Not much left they can really do. Hellbeetle will try to open up a kill hole leading in towards the site of Master to maybe have some sort of end meet, and now Stop Looking at Me will try to enter the building in a prone play. His position technically given away, though, as he shoots out that Kona station. Doesn't look like anyone's actually watching the plant going down. I'm not too sure if Velik was able to hear this. They've got the kill holes lined up. Here's the overwatch, though, by Hellbeetle, and the plant actually goes down. Stop Looking at Me. Barely escapes outside of the building, and now we're in a post-plant position with, honestly, not a horrible position at the slightest here for Sumter. Hellbeetle gets one. Diffuser now being ticked away by the Thunderbird, but they're going to end up dying out here by Stop Looking at Me. 2 versus 2. Still plenty of time left to get that diffuser down, but really no proper coverage by the defensive side. They're quite isolated, and Hellbeetle has now rotated inside the building towards Khans. He now equalizes once again. It's only up to the Kaid here of Encrio, and they do not have a lot of time to spare. 8 seconds left, and now 7. There is simply no time left to get that diffuse. It came down to the wire, Matt. But we're not going to have overtime here. It's going to end out in the full regulation rounds. We went the full distance of 12, and it will simply be a 7-5 victory here for Sumter on map number 1.
Well, I don't even know. You gotta feel bad for Iowa Central. They almost brought this back from a 5-1 half on attack on Clubhouse. They got on defense, and it was like we were watching a different team play, fellow. And I feel bad for them, In the first half, they played abysmally. I'm sorry, but they really didn't play well on attack. And somehow, they really looked like they had it in the back on defense, and they just fell short by 1 round. Not even 1 round. It was a few seconds, a few bullets. But somehow they still fell short. And it is Sumter taking map 1. So, any takeaways from that?
Well, hopefully we have some sort of bite back there by Iowa moving into map number 2, their own pick of, I believe it'd be Villa. Yep, that will be map number 2, what we're going into. But before we go into Villa, we're going to go on a short little break and be back in just a little while to get that map underway. Stick around and see who actually ends up winning that match out, whether it be Iowa State or USC Sumter. Well, we'll have to find that out in just a few short minutes. Don't go anywhere, as we'll be right back. finally that happens. Whips out the 44 Magnum, but unfortunately will miss that one vital shot. So the Finkel will be able to revive herself, and they even had backup by covered.
Made of his own, but it gets caught by the magnet, and somehow, some way, he gets on a drone, isn't punished for it. How do you almost not get away with that? I don't get that. Mido swinging from the side for himself. This could potentially be an ace, but not anymore. Habana gets one of her own, and the second one, so it's 3 for Sledge, 2 for Habana, and the first round kill into Iowa Central. Invite, and we've seen so many elaborate setups with him, but Jaeger will fall by Dragonfire. Iowa Central, excuse me, once again, can they actually capitalize on that? No, Valkyrie, the first one of falling. The refrag, Hellbeetle gets 1, but the Ash is there to at least equalize the Mancano.
Decky is just playing in this position so well with that Echo drone. Stop looking at me is beginning to now aggress on towards the Havana. They'll go for a wall bang. It's not going to connect just yet, but at least the Yokai will to deny the plant, therefore giving USC Sumter their
Serdeki once again just falling down. He can either go for a run out or just play C4 from below. The Sledge will drop down. Serdeki's ready for him though, and it's all up to the Ash to try and clutch it up. And this is a 5-1 split for the defense here, fellow. He decides to live to fight another day, and a nice shot onto the Jaeger.
They're aware that there is no shotgun in play. They could maybe win this gunfight so long as they connect onto that head, or at least waste a fair amount of time. He hears the audible call, but looks the wrong direction. He had to pick between both the bomb site direction, or the one that was closer towards him, and he guessed into
anything to round as of yet.
He hasn't actually fallen to the wayside. He won there. It's not going to be the case. Bellic lines up 2 freebies. Almost a third as Serdeki tries to get a bit aggressive. Luckily, we have Yosha with the DMR on bucks of information to gather, a living drone, so to speak. They'll manage to snuff out the Kaid. They can maybe isolate a 1 versus 1. Serdeki will try to do that as Hellbeetle is still waiting for someone to actually back up the Kaid. It's a melee kill here for the Montaigne. Now to 1 versus 2, but unfortunately
went in favor of USC Sumter, and they get a second one. Deki's on fire now that he actually has a gun to shoot. Mr. Vela takes a lot of damage, but thankfully the Kona Station is coming in clutch. 5v2 though, make that a 5v1 as Squirrel gets 1 as well. The plant is going down, and now the Thunderbird has to clutch. You have 2 people waiting for that construction push. You have someone playing below. No's contesting the side. There's finally one person making it back to side, but Serdeki's ready for them. And while Mute gets 1, Mute is going to push from construction, and Jaeger is on top of red stairs. They need to go for the swings. Now is no time to stall. The first one comes out from Mute. Can he get more? He swings in the right direction. Pre-fire's coming out. Jaeger gets 1 as well. And so all of a sudden, it's a 2v2 with 25 seconds left. Only 7 needed to defuse. Mute pushes up, and he somehow spots the thermite. That's a triple for him. And Jaeger gets down. That's a quad for the Mute as they somehow clutch this one out. Another one. He's going absolutely nuclear up on Clubhouse so far. The flashes are coming out, and the Moto drop is soon to follow, Phil. But will it be enough? 35 seconds.
Watching the plant going down. I'm not too sure if Bellic was able to hear this. They've got the kill holes lined up. Here's the overwatch though by Hellbeetle, and the plant actually goes down. Stop looking at me. Hellbeetle has now rotated inside the building towards Cons. He now equalizes once again. Seconds left, and now 7. There is simply no time left to get that defuse. It came down to the wire, Matt, but we're not going to have overtime here. It's going to end out in the full regulation rounds. We went the full distance of 12, and it will simply be a Welcome back, everyone, to the NJCAAE, once again powered by Esports U. Big shouts to them. And going into map number 2 of Villa Boxy, there were a couple of issues you and I had between both teams, despite who ended up winning out map number 1, which, again, was actually Sumter here and not Iowa Central. I think the biggest thing was, for one, Iowa, their general information gathering was a bit lackluster, and then also the map control / time management for Sumter was also a major concern as well. So 2 gigantic pillars to how you're supposed to play Siege at a competitive level were non-existent for both teams for a majority of map 1. So we're hoping that can be remedied moving into Villa, but that's very unlikely. So I really don't know what we're bound to see going in round number 2, but man, I'm really hoping it cannot be anything as bad as map number 1.
I mean, I definitely do hope we go to map 3 here. I feel like, you know, if you're Iowa, if you came back from a 5-1 split, you were 5-1 down. That's 4 rounds in the first split.
Overtime.
Yeah, and then you bring it to a 7-5. You were 1 round off of forcing overtime. It was just so close, and the round was also, it really could have gone either way, you know, down to the last second. So I don't know, but we've had this discussion while off mics, where while the mics were off. We had this discussion, and I feel like our biggest gripe with both teams, besides the lack of intel and communication, and droning, I think it's been the fact that while they were both doing significantly better on defense, there was no actual holding the sides. Like, they were all just
Yeah.
playing retakes, right? They were all just kind of playing from 3, 4 rooms away from another floor, either from above or below. And then when the diffuser got planted, they went for the retake. And I don't think you can afford that. But stop me rambling. We're going on Villa. We have the operator bands coming in. The first one's going to be Ying once again, which is pretty interesting to me. And again, apparently we're not going to see her, even though I said I really want to see her play today. Second one will be Zofia, which you can't help but feel it's a little bit of a target ban because we have seen her come out from Sumter on Clubhouse.
And once again, like you mentioned, the Ying ban, I feel like that's just a target ban as well. I can feel you there though, because it can be quite annoying to deal those Candelas, especially if you don't like running both A1 and Jaeger, which neither team has brought in the exact same round. They've been kind of switching between the two, but never in the exact same pool. The Mira ban now following up after Zofia. That's a much more common ban, although I'm not a big fan of banning her on a map like Villa. It just seems unnecessary. You can instead get rid of someone like the Maestro, a Smoke, really anything dedicated towards the site would definitely net you much better ways, especially on the attack. But the Valkyrie following up as well, also pretty straightforward. So only the Zofia and Ying are the only two eye catchers here, really. And you don't really need the Zofia. We've seen Ashen play a lot by both Iowa and Sumter, so I really don't feel like that was a required ban at all for either side. It just, once again, seemed completely unnecessary.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. But I guess if you feel better, knowing you've taken off an operator that your opponent is doing well on, then by all means go for it, especially if you feel like you can, kind of play against and with the operators that usually get banned, be that Thatcher or anyone else, maybe a Jackal even on a roam heavy map that Villa can sometimes be. But we'll actually see what we're in for here on round number 1 as we load in, as we have Sumter on defense and Iowa on attack. And just going off of that, going off of map 1 as well, we probably have Sumter winning the first half pretty convincingly once again, because frankly, both teams have been very lackluster on attack, but they've been holding their own on defense. And I don't think this map is going to be any different. We will be seeing the default primary side of Aviator, and I want to see, some innovation, something new coming out from the teams, because it's been very bland so far.
Well, at least we're going to have the Flores and Thatcher on the board, which we didn't see any of them at number 1. I feel like with the bans of what we saw, both a Ying and Zofia, two very odd bans to have, that's going to open things up a lot, especially for Iowa Central on this first half. They are going to not have to deal with Electro Claws or Mute Jammers in any way, shape, or form. That's going to also open things up for not only their Hard Destructor, but the Flores. And the fact that there are no shields, except for Clash's CCE shield, of course, the Flores can actually utilize their Rotero drones to force out players from key positions, and that can now allow their grenades to be used to flat out kill somebody rather than going for that utility denial. And also having the EMP on the board again, that would disable a majority of what the defense of Sumter will be bringing to the table, including those magnets. So despite my previous conversation about having this be a very defender-favored setup here potentially for both Sumter and Iowa Central, we could see the exact opposite happen unless, well, we see your Hard Destructor die so early in round number 1.
Keep in mind, Iowa are going to get punished. Excuse me. Iowa are going to get punished for their operator picks so early on. They have banned Zofia, and round number 1, Sumter decide to bring the Clash, which they have teased on map 1 as well, but they've actually brought her now, and she will prove devastating as there's nothing to really clear out besides the nades of Finka and maybe the Rotero drones coming out from the forest. But Sumter get the second entry. That's a double for Kuro, and he finally gets taken off, but he's already done his work. That's both Flores and the Hard Breach of Ace off the board. There's no more Hard Breach left for the defenders, so whatever they've opened, they've got to work with. There's no new Hard Breaches coming in, at least for this round. Sertaki playing pretty passively inside, though, and that's not very characteristic of him, because we've seen him just hit those crazy flanks, those crazy realms on map 1. Hell Beetle, though, holding 90 with the shotgun, just increasing the man advantage that Sumter currently have, and the Clash is going to be a difficulty to deal with, just like I've said early on, fellow.
And despite having all of these gadgets to flush out the Clash or really flush out anyone in the proper position, they are just getting flattened. They really got dealt with quite effectively by Kuro. Eventually he falled, like you mentioned, but already doing far too much to subside here. Hell Beetle gonna get rid of Must Have Fun as well. It's only Velik left alive, and they're being spotted out here by Yasha, so there is not a lot, or Yosha, pardon, not a lot left for the Thatcher to do. They're getting approached on by Hell Beetle from the backside as well. We could maybe have Yosha try to bait for him. That's exactly what happens, allowing the Mute to now step out a bit closer, and they're in perfect range to just get a one pump on towards the Thatcher. So the round number one going the way of Sumter, funny enough, as despite having such a good start in terms of hard destruction and overall map control being done by Iowa, they still just lose out on their gunfights, giving Sumter the advantage here on Villa.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this before, and I'll say it again just to double down on it. I think Villa is going to be just as, if not more, defender-sided than what we've seen on Clubhouse, because both teams, they know what they're doing on defense, they know what they should be doing on attack, but they don't actually execute it like they should. And I just want to touch upon that point once again. It's such a funny slap in the face for me. You're Iowa. You say, they were so annoying with the Sophia, we better ban her because we don't want to play against her, and Sumter retaliate round one by bringing out the Clash, and Iowa just had nothing to deal with that Clash, and it just ended up punishing them, but it didn't even matter because Kuro just swung out of sight, got the entry on the first two players, and by then, the round was pretty much over for Iowa's attack. So this was just such a comical round for me, fella. I don't know if you share the sentiment, but I don't know, I just had to put it out there.
No, 100% agree, because just the mobile mirror, that's what I coined the Clash as. Yes, you are down a gun, but when you have people like Kuro and Decky who simply don't miss most of the time, you can afford that small commitment of having the Clash, or instead gathering more information. And when someone like the Valkyrie is actually banned, and you don't like bringing out the Echo or Maestro, it can actually pay dividends just to have that little step up in terms of information gathering. So pretty good stuff by Sumter so far, reading into that ban phase pretty darn well. And now it's going to be up to Iowa State to actually try to retaliate here. Their lineup, once again, is incredibly strong. They've got grenades, they've got burn, they've got a Thatcher, which should make your life 10 times easier no matter how you phrase it, whether you're going for hard breach or just simply going for a util clear. Yet they are just not putting themselves in the right positions, or at least the right place at the right time to get these first couple of picks. It's just a major facepalm, to say the least, and I'm hoping that can change here on round number 2, Boxy.
The one thing that has really, really rubbed me the wrong way, though, is Iowa's attack picks or attack composition, because they have, again, brought nothing to deal with a potential Clash. And, you know, Sumter ended up not bringing her, but they very well could have just six-picked onto her once again, and they could have caught Iowa Central off guard.
Oh, that's like the worst time to go lag detected. I was like, why just stop talking?
I hate it.
You are back. You were saying?
I'm so sorry. Yeah,
it's
internet
okay.
moment. I'm just saying, Iowa Central not adapting their attacking composition. They could have brought a Capital or something else to deal with that Clash if she got picked again. Luckily for them, she didn't, but it very well could have been a sixth pick onto them once again. But back to the round at hand, the Harbridge is coming out, and the map control is being established by the roamers, but the Thatcher will be the one to get entry onto Hellbeetle, and he's been the major killing force for Sumter early on. So Hellbeetle being off the board so early on with, you know, the C4 and the shotgun and the SMG-11 in hand, I think that's a great opening from Iowa, but it's a very different question whether they can actually capitalize on that. Their conversion rate of entry picks to rounds one hasn't been that high today, at least from what we've seen.
They still haven't cleared out the very bottom floor. Technically, no one's on the middle ground, but they don't have a lot of intel to boot. Looks like Stop Looking At Me is actually going to be able to get back in towards the site. It is still a man advantage for Iowa Central, don't get me wrong, but they only have control of that top floor near Master, essentially. Another 1-for-1 will go on through. Now the Kaid will fall. Luckily, Dragonfire is taking matters into their own hands, but still plenty of information to be gathered here by both Decky and potentially Kuro. He's got that audio call to boot, but no, he misses some vital shots. Dragon nets their fourth on the round, and a Nitro Cell gets tossed out far too early. They are completely aware the pulse is off site. Sir Decky will now have to try to clutch out in the 1 versus 4. Dragonfire now opting for the plant, trying to put themselves in the post position, so not much left for the lone pulse to do. Their Nitro Cell has already been utilized. An air jab now catches them on the ground. It's not going to be an ace by Dragonfire, but instead Encro will get the final pick of the round, but still a win nonetheless here for Iowa as they clap back with a swift and almost flawless round on round number 2.
I just gotta hand it to Dragonfire, he got the 4 and then he decided to go for the plant 4. He very easily could have just dropped the diffuser and said, hey, we know where he is. I'm just going for that kill. I really want this competitive ace. But no, he actually did the right thing like a good support player would do. He stuck the plant even if it meant risking his ace. And that is not something that we see a lot of these, low tier competitive players do. They think when you get the frags, you're the best in the lobby. And I don't know, props to the Thatcher on that. I think that's commendable. 1-1 scoreline though. Iowa Central getting a round on the board much earlier than they have on Clubhouse. And let's see if they can actually keep that pace up.
Well, only time will tell. We're going to see a repeat of Trophy and Statuary, funny enough, which wasn't a site that was held all too well by Sumter, but they did allow a lot of issues to slide away. If the triple wall gets opened up early on, then you should probably try to fall back and not be trying to overtly swing against Dragonfire when they've got the AR-33, which is a bit more of an unorthodox weapon to actually bring out as a Thatcher, but is still a good gun overall. And I mean, Dragonfire, he is probably one of the best fraggers on the side of Iowa Central. We saw him step up a fair amount of times on Clubhouse, and he's doing the same thing this time out on Villa. So giving him that respect would probably be a pretty great way for Sumter to remain alive in the round much longer and actually have a proper fight when the execute is bound to abrupt here on the side of Iowa.
Absolutely, and we're seeing the castle play once again, and something inside of me just smiling because, like I've said multiple times, I'm such a huge fan of castle being brought into composition. It really flips some of the setups on its head. It can help the defenders, it can burn the utility from the attackers, and while castle has what has been dubbed as the worst gun in the game because it's, such a low damage, low rate of fire gun, put it in the hands of the right player, he can still do massive damage, but it has the 1.5 scope as well, so at least it compensates that way a little bit. But the drones are coming out from the attackers, and they are taking some map control. We see the Ash just crouching through kitchen, looking for entry pick. She's not even ADSing, she just doesn't care. The drone is ahead of her though, so she should be warmed with ample time to react if anyone's actually spotted. The camera will spot Ash though, and she does destroy it, but her position is now given away, and hopefully Sumter relayed the information to their teammates who spotted her on the camera, because they haven't been doing that. Neither team has really, to be fair, John.
This is an incredibly anchor-favored setup by Sumter, which I feel like is such a missed opportunity on a map like Villa. You have so many options to go through. As a roamer, you can play on the top floor and just extend near study side or aviator. You can play underneath in the basement like what we saw with Sir Decky. He's now in the Wamai, so he kind of has to play near the site, but that doesn't mean someone like Kerr or Yasha, for example, could just go on that roam game instead. The Banshee not being destroyed just yet. Finally, it will get eliminated by the Sledge. This is not by a Tamarin, so the LA will work its wonders. Here comes a drop down by Kuro. He might have not been heard though. No! The air jab nets both the Castle and Sledge, but it appears that from behind we have Enkrio back up Velik as he is still falling on his behind. 5 versus 4 here for Iowa. Once again, they get that first initial pick, but the only problem is they do not have triple wall opened up, and for the most part, it looks like they're only pushing in through the backside of Astro Stairs. So for the time being, they're going in towards the funnel, which could honestly be a huge net buff for Sumter. But as I say that, we have the triple wall get opened up by the Selma charges, both Dragonfire and Weeaboo working in tandem quite well. So now they have 2 options to push in from, and a second, make it a third and fourth pick. It's just an ocean of orange at this point. The only one to stand is Sir Decky, and he only manages to pick off 1 attacking member. It'll be a second round win now in a row for Iowa as they are making minced meat out of the defensive side of Sumter on that attack leading in towards Trophy.
Yeah, I cursed both of the teams saying that defense would be super favored, right? That's what's happening here. That's why Iowa is suddenly good on attack. That must be it, right?
Clearly.
Okay. Well, caster scores, you know how it is. But we are going into round 4, and Iowa Central, for the first time, not just on this map, but in the entire series, they have the upper hand. They are ahead of Sumter. Can they keep and increase their advantage, or will Sumter strike back and even it out? I guess we'll find out in round 4, as we will be seeing Aviator and Games once again, fellow. And let's see if Sumter can actually hold it out this time once again. The Clash is out again, by the way. And again, no Clash denial.
Yeah, we didn't have any fantastic altercations against the Clash here favoring Iowa. So my hopes are very grim for the attacking team. I mean, they did a phenomenal job of the hard destruction game, instantly opening up a line of sight to maybe kill somebody inside of Aviator near the couch. but they didn't win their gunfight. Kuro just simply outdueled them with the AUG. This time around, they've got the MP5K, so faster rate of fire in exchange for the weaker damage. I'm honestly a bigger fan of the MP5K, if I'm going to be upfront about that. A lot of people probably are now screaming at me and chat the whole like 15 people in there, but you know, both guns have their strengths and weaknesses, so maybe we could have Kuro play for more range, utilizing that 1.5 optic and just making things a nightmare for Iowa Central. But it looks like he'll just still hold basically the exact same position inside of Aviator and just try to hold down the fort here with backup from Stop Look At Me, also having 1.5 optic on their AUG.
Absolutely, and it's just a matter of time and a matter of where Iowa actually decides to push from. We've seen them go for, you know, a very straightforward push on the balcony, on the study balcony there. I would love to see them go for a cross clear maybe this time, and it looks like that is what they're going to do as Ash has entered the master bedroom. There's no one actually contesting her just yet, and I wonder where the first defender is actually hiding. There doesn't seem to be much roaming going on from the defense as far as I can tell, and that is honestly pretty interesting. Usually have at least one person either playing below Astro or in Astro or even in master bedroom. No signs of life from Sumter just yet. They are hiding on side. I guess they are in an effective 4v5 with the clash brought there, so maybe pulling back your roamers is not such a bad idea. The drones will be coming out though. 90 will get cleared as Tailbill isn't playing it this time as far as I can tell. I could be wrong though, actually.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't think they don't push on that because the flash actually blinded both Central or Iowa Central, pardon, and also Sumter. I think the big problem with USC Sumter is they're just not utilizing map control or map denial, pardon, at all. They're just like going for 4 to 5 man tankers, and only a slight lurk is being attempted. I feel like that's because they just don't seem quite comfortable here on Villa. You can definitely tell this was not their map pick at all. And if you're going to be that uncomfortable on a map like Villa, just don't play it. Don't allow it to be banned first and foremost, and do not have it brought in a best of 3 series, because things are just not looking all that hopeful for you in the slightest unless you can win a couple of gunfights here in these next couple of seconds. About a minute or so on the board, and it's actually Dragonfire to win that first altercation. Sir Decky will get a refrag. Down goes the Thatcher. So the main wall inside of Aviator leading through study is not going to be opened up, but they have an avenue or approach in towards hunting. But for the most part, that's about it. That and Skull are the only 2 ways we could have Iowa Central actually enter the site and go for a plant in this 4 versus 4.
Time is running out. 45 seconds left on the clock. Clash is still standing. Escami gets one, and VAL gets another one. It's a 4v2 now, with just the Clash and the Melusi on the board. No more impacts in the pocket of Melusi either, so it's all up to the gun skill and the MP5 she currently has in her hands. The Clash is denied, but she needs to play itself. She needs to get an angle where Melusi can help her. Clash gets down, though, and it's effectively a 1v4. Not even one attacker will fall, as they somehow cleanly sweep another round in their favor, and Iowa just show no signs of slowing down. And I quickly want to talk about this, fellow. I feel like Iowa, when they win their rounds, which has been happening a lot on Villa and not as much on Clubhouse until the second half, they win purely off of their ones. They walk in, rounds 2 and 3, the first rounds they won, they've had someone walk in the side and get a triple kill and then a quad kill the next round. And they're purely winning off of ones. Sumter, when they win, they seem to lose their ones, but they played more tactically. They adapt just a little bit more, and that's how they win their rounds. But apparently, the winning of ones from Iowa has just been stronger so far, because it's a 1-3 split, and there's no signs of slowing down for Iowa. So, I don't know. Sumter need to find their response now.
I simply do not think, again, Sumter are very comfortable here on Villa. It's definitely showing in their play style, because they were very vibrant on Clubhouse, 100%. They were going for roams, they were actively rotating, they went on flanks, and now we're just seeing them, again, just bunkered up, and they haven't even tried to go to kitchen a single time, even library. Funny enough, they're just opting for the same 2 top floor sites, back and forth, back and forth. We're heading to Aviator in games now, a 3rd time, the 2nd one in a row, technically. So I'm not very confident in their playstyle, and I don't think Sumter really is either. So Iowa Central, they're playing defaults, funny enough, which is something they weren't doing a lot on Clubhouse, and that is just the sole reason why they're getting so many rounds on the board. They're able to use and abuse the Thatcher pick to allow hard destruction to happen much easier. They're getting more than one way to attack the bomb site, and it's just completely catching Sumter off guard. It's putting them in a washing machine, completely swirling them around, and it is just, it's quite unfortunate for them because I really thought they were able to keep that momentum that they had in Clubhouse moving into Villa, but nope, it is the complete opposite, at least in this first half.
I mean, you pointed out how we're just playing defaults on attack, and I would argue the same thing for Sumter to some extent. Their side setups are purely, textbook defaults, but then whenever a roamer is supposed to be, they just pull him back on side. They all just hunker down on side. The first they have people playing out is the one player on 9th, that's usually Hellbeetle, and he'll be playing there again. He has taken... He's still standing. He still has the SMG-11. He needs to stop swinging, though. I don't know why you still are. Kuro will be the first one to fall, though. It's Dragon getting the entry. The castle is no more for this round.
At least this time around, we've got Surdeki on a roam. I don't know if they're aware Hellbeetle is actually in the middle of the table here. He actually gets away with one, almost a second, but Must Have Fun barely survives. Not for much longer, though. He'll be downed out by the Legion playing near bookshelves. It looks like Surdeki is actually going on a roam, and the Nomad didn't place a single air jab. The only thing stopping the Wamai from entering Asher was a Claymore, and they spotted out the red laser, so now they can get away with potentially a pretty nice set of kills up and towards 90 on the side of Iowa Central. They've got their backs turned. They have no idea that someone's reaching from the back ranks. A bit of damage is dealt, but looks like Surdeki will actually pull the trigger a bit too early. They won't net any picks. Now back to a man advantage, favoring Iowa Central, but Weeaboo tries to deal with the Wamai single-handedly. A 2 versus 3 now as Velk gets down. The plant will be going off as well in the background. Here comes the flank by Yosha. Ash has no idea what just hit them. A Nitro Cell now finished off the sledge, leaving Must Have Fun on such little HP right in the middle of the bomb site, behind the hunting doorway, basically trapped in a rock in a hard space. Spots out the Legion. That's one freebie, a 2 versus 1, but there is Surdeki on an instantaneous trade. Plenty of time left to defuse as well. Sumter will now get their second round win in the first half. Finally, we saw some sort of roam game, some sort of aggression out by the defensive side. But Nomad, why in God's name did you have all of your air jabs in pocket?
Yep. And even post-plan, she still had 3 flashes and an air jab in hand. If she just used the air jab on the hallway or inside the side, she could have focused on only 1 or 2 angles. Instead, she had to cycle between 3 or 4. But more importantly, Sumter are just making me look like a chum here. Everything that I say, they do the exact opposite next round. When they say they won, they lose. When I say, oh my god, they don't roam at all, that's when they pull all the stops, and they have too many people roaming, and they need to play retakes in the end, but somehow it ends up working out for them. The C4 hits with their headshots, and I guess it's largely on Nomad, not placing those air jabs on red and on flank really costed them the round there, but they got their second on the board, and we could potentially see a 3-3 split here on Villa in the first half.
That would be something I would find almost unfathomable. That's pretty default. Normally you still see 4-2 splits favoring the defense, but 3-3, that's, not horrible. More favorable to Iowa, don't get me wrong. I'd hope that'd be the case because it's their map pick. But I'm really shocked we had Sumter actually bounce back from that round. And it's like I mentioned earlier with Iowa Central winning out a lot of the rounds, it's because they had Sumter kind of allow them to do that. And now it's the other way around. Again, Nomad, you bring her out for the flank, yet you do not place a single air jab. That is just an incredibly questionable thing. You don't even need her air jabs to burn through util because you have a Thatcher. So there is, frankly, no excuse to not have those placed on the flank. Only a measly Claymore, which you can spot out pretty effectively. So if we have simple mistakes like that be made again, we're going to have Sumter just simply walk all over Iowa Central and probably get that third round on the board in the first half, like you were prophesizing about, Boxing.
I really do think, though, that the cider is still so much on the table. I really think I will win this one out unless they somehow forget how to defend. We are going to go to the cider, and we love these remap games. But back to the round at hand. We're on round 6, and like you said, a 3-3 split is very possible. We have the pulls coming out from Surdeki once again showing us that he's an extremely flexible player. We've seen him on so many operators tonight. He will soon run through all of the competitively viable ones, and even some that aren't really considered competitively viable. But They still have a long way to go to secure the 3-3 split. So far, no one has died yet, but Iowa have secured some bit of map control, excuse me. And the C4 almost gets shot down. Oh, he's shooting it so that it drops down. He threw it prematurely. Okay, that is smart. Not quite working out for him, though. Unfortunate.
Oh, he got it back.
Okay.
Funny enough.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, great work done by Sir Decky. He can now maybe gather some extra information and get a possible nitro cell kill. He allows Stop Looking At Me to actually detonate theirs first, a proper call, because the pulse can just kind of relay you some information if you need it. And there's a second pick as well, favoring Sumter. Yosha gets rid of Mr. Velik, and there is still a nitro cell in the pocket of Decky, as we just saw him pick it back up moments ago. There's still someone prowling about on that top floor. It could be their impending doom with a simple cell phone call landed towards them. It looks like that could potentially be the case, but Sir Decky is not actually committed to anything just yet. Selma's being attempted to detonate towards the single wall leading into China, but there is a mute jammer to greet it. So no entry point just yet for Iowa Central, as they are now twiddling their thumbs, trying to figure out where they can possibly approach upon. At least they've got the flank being watched from underneath as Encrio gets rid of Yosha. There's something to boot for Iowa Central, but other than that one pick, that's the only thing that they have going for them so far, Boxy.
While USC Sumter may have lost their first man, the time is slowly becoming their new fifth man as it's sticking out, and it's only 35 seconds left in which Iowa Central can push into the side. Scummy Weebo takes a lot of damage there, but he's still able to fight, he's still able to shoot. Hell Beetle will be the next one to contend, and he's just unstoppable with the shotgun as he gets one. He also has the case on him within shotgun distance. The Ash misses the shots though, finally gets them, and Ace gets one as well. It's a double for him, make that a double for Ash as well, and it's all up to Sir Decky to clutch this one out. 1v2, but the time is on his side. He gets shot in the back, looks the right way though, and doesn't get either of them. As somehow, some way, I don't even know, fellow. I'm honestly just baffled. Whenever it looks like Sumter have a round in the bag, they had such a huge advantage this round, and again, I don't know. It's all falling apart for them, and now we've seen the side switch. Let's see if Iowa Central can keep their momentum going on defense. This is where they thrived on Clubhouse. And if they can keep that up, we are absolutely seeing a third map. But it's so baffling. Whenever a team seems to have a surefire advantage and the round in the bag, somehow the tables turn and the other team ends up clutching it. And it's... what's happening here, man?
I really don't know. Anywhere but that breach wall would have been a better spot for the mute to play after getting one kill. Play near the castle barricade, play in bicycle, anything but where you were sitting at to get shot from a medium distance where you cannot one pump somebody with a Mossberg. That would have been much better. Everyone just threw their lives down the drain, and we had Iowa Central capitalize off that really effectively, and now they get to go on the defense, which personally, I think they play much better on their defensive sides. This is going to be a very challenging position for Sumter to try to bounce back from, because their attacking rounds, they were sluggish, they were ineffective, and there were just plenty of issues. Maybe with that Thatcher, we could see some of that time management be alleviated perhaps, and also the Montaigne is back on the board for Sumter as well, so a lot of intel could be gathered early on. But despite those two things, I am still incredibly concerned for Sumter, especially if they get first picked as well in round number 7.
Absolutely agreed, but keep in mind, on Clubhouse, we have seen a 1-5 near comeback for Iowa Central. They ended up losing at 7-5, but they still came down from a 4-round deficit. And Sumter are only behind 2 rounds here, so they have that going on for them. Yes, they are attacking now, but I still think they could maybe potentially pull off a clutch. Though Iowa Central clearly have the advantage right now, and it all comes down to how they defend as opposed to how Sumter attack. You know, these, especially when you cast teams that you don't know in the lower tiers of competitive play, these halves are always such wild cards, right? You never know what to expect.
Really
just cannot do anything.
I really never do know what to expect, I suppose. Also don't get to see the FMG9 in the smoke all that often either, but I guess there are some long ranges you can kind of contest with. I feel like having that shotgun inside of hunting, though, can be quite potent. put in the right hands, but that's not the end of the world. Looks like the Montaigne of Yoshawat will just try to gather some early information, maybe get away with some free site control perhaps. They spotted out one in the back of Hunting, that's one position
What?
known, and I think he's aware that Mr. Velik is near the rotation hole leading between the two sites of Aviator and Bar, so they could potentially get a plant down early on. I don't like how Yosha is the one who has the case. Normally you have some other player actually with that diffuser in their back pocket, and then the Montaigne will cover while they're going for that plant, but it could still work out depending on how well Sumter can play. About a minute to play left on the board, and they still haven't found some sort of entry pick, and I don't believe they're aware that Weeaboo is actually on some sort of flank near Library. That could net him one potential kill, but it looks like Hellbeetle is still watching in that lower position to maybe outduel the Jaeger and give Sumter that first blood. That's exactly what happens.
That is exactly what happens, but still the fact that Iowa only has 2 people inside is just preposterous to me. That is the second smoke canister being burned out, and smoke is soon going to be out. The Monty's still up at full HP. The smokes are coming out, which means the plant could follow soon thereafter, and now the defenders that are roaming need to start collapsing back onto round. There we go. The smoke is coming out. Stop looking at me. Finds the first one. It's 5v3 currently. The Nomad charge is also being detonated, putting to good work over there. Ace is ready, but misses some crucial shots there and takes a lot of damage, more than he dishes out. The plan is down now, though. 35 seconds left, and Kuro is ready on those main stairs. Legion is about to swing. Smoke finds one, but is refragged by the Monty almost immediately. And now Catkin is down as well. It's all up to the Smoke to actually clutch this one out, but it's a 1v4 with the case down. 20 seconds left, 10 of which are needed for the defuse. And I don't think he is capable of doing that, to be quite frank with you. SMG in hand, FMG in pocket, but Kuro will be the first one to find him. Not much you can do there. And again, I like the fact that defense is trying to come up with those, late round flanks, but you cannot have 3 people running rapid around the map, especially when the attackers are just collapsing onto the side. You cannot have 2 people on the side, or 1 in Vault, 1 behind Bar. There was no one actually in Aviator. The Monty just walked in freely. He burned 2 smoke canisters, then he used 1 smoke of his own, and he just planted, and that's all she wrote, fellow.
Yeah, I really am shocked we didn't have an impact hole set up near default, or even the Capcan of Encrio possibly using a nitrocell underneath to kill that default plant. It just did not seem like there was a lot of denial in case a plant happened, which we've seen Sumter try to opt for those executes. They like to try to get towards the site and play for that map pressure, which works out really well for them since it's been a very weak site presence a majority of rounds for Iowa Central. So not having that backup plan other than the toxic smokes, it is definitely a very concerning factor. I like, though, that we've got Weeaboo on the pulse, so he can do exactly what I just mentioned of playing for the vertical and maybe gathering a lot of information to either kill somebody early on or stop a plant, depending on how well he can play with that cardiac sensor, and so long as he does not die off the bat as well. We saw that opening pick favor the side of Sumter, and they really did not slow down in the killing department in the slightest. They had great coverage when they were going for that plant, and because they only had to deal with the horizontal pressure and no vertical pressure, it was a pretty easy way to set themselves up in that post plant. But this time around, I don't think they'll get away with that plant as easily for round number 8 in comparison to the 7th one.
Yeah, I mean, what we've seen Sumter do on their attacks is they just kind of enter a window or a door very close to the side, they all funnel through it, and then they establish control, they get the air jibs out, and they start taking control from there. There's no real crosses, they just kind of enter near side and then take control from there. And while I like that, it could prove absolutely detrimental, because if there's actually defenders playing on the side, they could all be taken off 1 by 1. But somehow, Iowa are just giving them control and picks and even, bomb site control for free. There's so much free real estate being given out. And Sumter are just capitalizing on all of it. They're, not letting Central get away with it. I like that a lot. The drones are coming out, though, and the Nomad will actually be placing down her charges for once. Serdeki gets Mr. Velok, and that is no more smoke.
Oh, man. I do not know why you have your smoke roaming. That is the best piece of utility you have to stop a plant, especially against a Montaigne, and when there's a Finka on the board. So why do you have him so far away from sight? Why is your Capcan not roaming? He has passive utility, whereas the smoke has active utility. You just wasted so much time 30 seconds in total could have been used to burn through that, and you could have even stopped the plant outright, depending on what position you were in. Now Dragonfire will get exposed by the Montaigne. They'll most likely have to fall back. Still a 5 versus 4 as Sumter begin to clear out the remaining bits of this roam game here on the middle floor. Let's just see how much they can get away with. Clearly they cannot deal with Dragonfire, though, as he's able to get a free one, equalizing now in the 4 versus 4 position, well known, but no one's here to flush him out. So Sumter, they now have to pick up the pace in order to get the job done, or else this actually could be a round recovered by Iowa Central.
Man, the Monty's just standing there while his teammate's getting shot. I find that hilarious. But it is a 4v4, 1 minute left on the clock. Scummy Weeaboo is on the flank, on the pulse. He's not playing below anymore. He still has C4 in pocket. And the same goes for Dragon and You Must Have Fun. There's still 3 C4s in pocket. So while the smoke may be dead, and the Monty's still on the board, those C4s could really come into clutch. Dragonfire takes off a lot of damage, but he gets the double, and Monty's still just standing there. The call has been relayed, though, that the mute is extremely low on HP, so you just gotta go for those hit fires. Can you get them? No, you can't. Dragonfire goes for the triple. He's on 1 HP, but he has the case now. He's done his work. Sterdeki gets a double, though, but it doesn't even end up mattering, as he's alone in a 1v3. He needs to get the ace here, fellow, if he wants to clutch it up. Takes up so much damage. These Renal Surges are coming in. The Capcan traps are being shot just before walking into them. 90 camera also shot. Dragonfire is looking there. He doesn't even have the diffuser, and the Capcan is ready to close out the round for the defenders once again.
Man, oh man, oh
Indeed.
man.
Agreed. Huh.
I do not get it. I simply do not get it. You are going to go for an aviator clear into sight and go for the plant. You do not need hallway control in 90. Why are you feeding Dragonfire, probably one of the best gunners on the side of Iowa Central, 1-for-1s? Because the Montaigne's just sitting there like a rock.
Oh,
he is Le Rock, after all. And not even having anybody go around from the back of 90 near like Boar or Red, for example, to shoot the mute in the back, just funneling into him. You are lining up single file for this mute to punish you. That is exactly what happened. Instead, you could have had an air jab placed to deny the rotate inside of bookshelves from 90, and you could have just went for a sight take. That would have been 10 times easier, because the roam game, it was mostly dealt with, and the remnants of that roam were not in a position to deny a plant. And like I mentioned earlier, your main denial of that smoke was already dealt with so early on by your Finka player, as Vela for some odd reason was roaming inside, I believe it's called, not library, but also the main area of study side. No, actually, I believe it is library. I was right the first time around. So some really questionable stuff by both sides. But at the end of the day, Sumter, they made the bigger blunder, and they just fed Dragonfire so many picks, allowing Iowa Central to bring themselves back to potentially a round away from match point and able to redeem themselves to bring ourselves to potentially a third map of, I believe it is Chalet. So I'm just incredibly confused after that last round. That was just such a fog for me.
Man, the fact that the Monty was just standing there, 3 of his teammates just got peeked and died one by one, is just baffling to me. And I know you can't see me right now, I know the viewers can't either, but this is my disappointed face. Also, while we were going off on rants for the last minute and a half, Max was pointing something out for a shout out to Max once again, an amazing observer to work with. You must have fun. Look at the operator that they bring in this time around.
Thorn again. Yep.
Thorn again. And we've seen Thorn played on both sides today, and while I'm not sure if it's against the rules, both teams have used her so far, meaning that there's no real reasons to protest anymore. You've both done it. You know, you reap what you sow. The smokes are coming out, though, as the execute is about to start commencing. We're seeing the Monty again, and I'm just not a huge fan of it. I've made that very apparent, but somehow it's still being brought. So much utility being brought out, but Dragonfire with the entry once again, and the Nomad is gone. I'm not sure exactly how many air jabs she got out, but I can't imagine it was a lot of them. Maybe 1 at most. Monty getting aggro, though. He's just gonna ADS. Nope, he decides to play it safe. Thank you, God, for not swinging that distance.
Triple wall gets opened up in the background. Yosha at a Mexican standoff, essentially, and he's unaware of the second player here. Mr. Velik is behind a bit of shelving, waiting in towards the side of Astro. He can maybe catch 1, if not 2 players off guard, depending on how patient he is. Hellbeetle is opting to go for a 1-tap to get rid of the player in the back of Astro, behind a deployable shield instead of boxes, but just cannot seem to do it. Oh! Eventually he gets the job done. Brilliant shot by Hellbeetle, and he has a shotgun on the Thatcher as well, mind you, so he could potentially actually give Mr. Velik a taste of his own medicine. It'll be a duel of Mossbergs here on round number 9, as depending on how well Mr. Velik can get flushed out here, that could be an instant pick for Hellbeetle once again, but unfortunately Velik will fall back, having no more toxic smokes, whips out the SMG and denies Hellbeetle of finding a second. The Montaigne falls as well, 2 versus 4, and now 1v4 as Velik swings wide a second time, and no one is here to punish. The only one left to stand is now Stop Looking At Me, and they've got 30 seconds to find 4 picks in a row. I just simply don't think he can get all of that manpower established in such little time, Boxy. There's resistance here. It just seems futile, but we're trying to make ends meet. Waltz his way in towards the site, maybe find a wall bang. The shots will unfortunately not connect, so it's still a 1 versus 4. He hears the audio call behind him from the top of Astro Stairs. It's going to be the players stacked up inside of Statuary to finally finish off this lone defender. I believe that was Velik for now, his 3rd on the round with the smoke. So match point. Now in the pocket of Iowa Central, they are really just dominating Sumter here in the second half. And I mean, it only makes sense because it was their map pick after all.
What is happening, man? I have so many questions, and there's so little answers being given to us by both teams. I don't know. I've spent the entire round laughing. I'm so glad he casted most of it. But 3-6. We are on match point, and this time it is for Iowa Central, and the 3rd map is becoming a sure thing by now. I don't think there's any way that Sumter can bring it back. Maybe a round, maybe even 2 rounds. Overtime, I think, is extremely unlikely, and so Iowa Central will take Villa, and we will be seeing them duke it out on Chalet. Where was this Iowa Central on Clubhouse, though, fellow? That is my question. Why did it take them so long to actually load in the server and get started?
Defenders, protect your bombs.
I simply do not know, to be honest. Maybe it's because of how uncomfortable Sumter are here on Villa. That could be the main reason, in all honesty. And it's not even just comfort, it's also just basic mistakes that Sumter are making. Now they're kind of fitting the bill of Iowa Central, where they are just funneling one by one by one. This time it was up in towards master bathroom side. We had one player rotate around Astro Stairs, and then they just rotated again, just simply wasting time and their own resources. Really questionable stuff coming out of USC Sumter. I'm not too sure if they'll be able to redeem themselves with 3 rounds in a row and then another 2 to guarantee a 2-0 victory. But I've been wrong beforehand. I could be proven wrong a second time. There are a lot of traps on the board here for Iowa Central, both the Thorn explosive charges and also the EDDs yet again in the hands of Encrio. So this Montaigne could be possibly living in a total nightmare depending on how he sets himself up in this round. But in all honesty, we have not seen the Montaigne be that impactful other than 1 round here for USC, and that's been it. So I'm still questioning why they want to bring out this French operator countless times when it's only done them some proper service a handful of times throughout this entire series.
I mean, there's 2 questionable French operators on the map. Actually, all the French operators are...
Well, he's technically, like, American, but he worked for the French service. It's weird to explain more, but still... French operator, we'll call it that, the Rook.
You have the Monty on one side, you have Rook on the other one. It's like, why are you bringing either? Mr. Velik has been putting in such good work on the smoke, with the shotgun, with the SNG-11. Why would you take him off of that for the MP5 with a 2-time scope? Anyways, the entry goes in, and it's for Decky falling it once again. He's been so prevalent on Clubhouse, and he's just been extremely silent here on Villa, fellow. He needs to pull his stuff together back on Chalet when we get to it, because he just hasn't really been putting those in. He's still one of the top fraggers on his team, but he's just been absolutely absent compared to what we've seen from him on Clubhouse with those, 3-4K flanks. He was just undisputedly gunning everyone down, but that hasn't been the case on Villa, and I'm not sure if he lost his groove or if maybe Iowa Central found their own, But whatever it is, half the round is gone. Sun control has been established, but not much. We will see the push into the side coming out shortly. The EMPs are coming out, but the second one for the Capcan finally gets taken down, or just a sea of blue as Inkiro gets a double, but it's quickly refragged. The plan is coming down. It's a 2v2 as Dragonfire finds one. Scummy on such low HP there, but Mutis pushing with his MP5K. The plan goes down, though. Nice C4 coming out, and it's all up to the Ace, who gets spracked down by the Jaeger, and the defenders will win Villa. We are going to Chalet, fellow.
Defenders disable the diffuser. Bomb defusing attempt.
I don't know. I just do not know what the Ace was looking at. I know the thought process behind the Ace. Like, oh, Montaigne died. He's in sight. And you don't expect the Jaeger to start actively peeking you like that. but you had a hard wall blockading you, man. You weren't gonna get anything through that. That was incredibly questionable. I also don't know why they wanted to go for such a direct approach either there. Like Sumter, you had a sledge, yet you refused to play for vertical. Really strange. Again, I simply don't think they knew what to do on Villa that much, which is why they wanted to go for so many direct takes. It really it just fits the bill. Simply put it, there was a motive, and everything just looked premeditated by the attacking side. Not in a good way though. It looked like they premeditated that in the prep phase, and that was simply that. Hopefully they can manage to get their stuff together though, moving in round number 3. Before we head there though, once again, we'll go on a quick little break and be back to see who's actually going to be the victor there on Chalet. Stick around and find out, as we'll be back in just a little while. They're getting approached on by Hellbeat from the backside as well. We can maybe have the Ocean try to bait for him. That's exactly what happened, allowing the meat to now step up a bit closer. They're in perfect. It's going to work on still a man advantage for Iowa Central. Don't get me wrong, but they only have control of that top floor near Master Center. Another 1-for-1 will go on through. Now the Cade will fall. Luckily, Brad will glance and puts themselves in the post positions. Not much left of the lone post to do. It's already been utilized. An air jab now catches them on the ground. Not going to be heard. He might have not been heard though. The air jab nets both the castle and sledge, but it appears that from behind we have Enkler back up. Velas is still falling on the say that we have the triple that opens up by the Selma charges both Dragonfire and Weird working in tandem quite well. So now they have 2 options to push in from and a second, make it a third and fourth pick. It's just an ocean of orange at this point. The only one to stand is Sir Spark. That's about it. That and Skull are the only 2 ways we could have Iowa Central actually enter the site and go for a plant in this 4 versus 4.
Time is running out. Fourth flashing to Malusi on the board. No more impact in the pocket of Malusi either, so it's all up to the gun skill and the MP5 she currently has in her hands. The flash is denied, but she needs to play itself. She needs to get an angle. Malusi can help. The flash gets down though. It's effectively a 1v4, not even 1 for here.
He actually gets away with 1, almost a second, but must have fun. Barely survives. Not much longer. He'll be down outright.
Shots though finally gets him, and Ace gets 1 as well. It's a double for him. Down double for X as well. It's to see that he clutch this one out. 1v2. Time is on his side. He gets shot in the back. Right to the either follows soon thereafter. And now the defenders are running to flashing back on the ground. There he goes. Smoke is coming out. Something that he finds the first one. It's 5v3 currently. SMG in hand. SMG in pocket. Still will be able to find him. Not again, I like the fact that the defense is trying to come up against late round. You just gotta go for those hit fires. Can you get them? No, you can't. Dragonfire goes for the triple. He's only 1 HP against the case now. He's done his work. Sure that he gets a double though, but it doesn't even end up happening. What?
Walt is waiting for the site. Maybe find the wall. Not connect. Still 1 big forward. Gives the audience all behind him. Top after the stairs. The players stacked up inside of stack where the shot.
And we're back. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to map 3, which is going to be Chalet of USC Sumter versus Iowa Central Tritons. And fellow, we've seen 2 chaotic and so different maps so far. What are your thoughts on, both Clubhouse and Chalet? What are your takeaways?
Overall, I think Iowa Central, they definitely have the endurance against the side of, I believe it was, Sumter. Sorry, I kind of blanked out there for a minute. That map really took a lot out of me emotionally and also mentally. So I have to try to gather my bearings before we go into map number 3. It just seemed like Sumter weren't as prepared for kind of like a best of 3 series. They were hoping, oh yeah, we'll dwindle things down to just a single map and be okay on potentially something like Clubhouse, for example, which is a very high pick in a best of 1 environment. But no, that's exactly the opposite of what happened. We are going to a 3-map series, and if they do not know what to do on a map like Chalet, this could definitely be another fairly one-sided victory here for the side of Iowa. There were some rounds where they definitely could have lost, don't get me wrong, where we had Sumter get the upper hand, but they still floundered in that position. So as long as Iowa Central can just keep a level head and just play better defaults in comparison to their opponents, then they should be able to actually claw back and get a 2-1 victory against their opposition of Sumter.
Absolutely. So just to recap, we've seen Sumter pick Clubhouse, and they have won it. And, although Iowa almost came back, Sumter still won their map pick. Then went on to Villa, and Iowa won their map pick. And you made it very apparent. You pointed it out how just uncomfortable Sumter seemed on Villa. But now we're on no man's land, so to speak. We are on Chalet, which is a decider, which is just the map that neither team nor band nor picked. So how do you think this one goes? It's 1-1 in terms of maps. It's a best of 3, so this one decides it all. Who do you have taken it?
Once again, I feel like Iowa Central should, in theory, have this, so
yeah?
long as they understand the map better than Sumter. 100%. That sounds like an obvious one, but we have seen Iowa Central kind of understand what they need to do against Sumter on Clubhouse, and then they completely knew what they were doing most of the time on Villa. Interesting clash fan. That is definitely a target pick by Iowa, because even though we only saw clash like 2 times in total by Sumter, they do not want to deal with it a singular time. The only problem is now we have Valkyrie on the board. Will Sumter opt to bring it out? Potentially, but only time will tell. The Ying ban, once again, so we're not going to see her in play at all. And unfortunately, Thatcher will join that suit as well, which was an absolute blast to see him in play, because he is very rarely let out of the retirement home. And I feel like that allowed for a much better flow, generally speaking, for both Iowa Central and Sumter, but now they're going to have to rely on either stop destruction or just a Maverick on the board, which looks like it'll be just the Zofia and Ash combination with maybe some grenades by either the Finker or Sledge, which, it'll get the job done, but I would definitely prefer a Maverick much more in comparison to that secondary destruction. Or a Twitch, that works out pretty well too, as long as you can dodge it to mute jammer, so not bad either.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Iowa, said, okay, guys, we finally banned the Clash now. We don't actually need the Zofia. Let's just bring out the Twitch, which they seem to prefer going even back to Clubhouse. We've seen them, when they could, pick the Twitch, and only if the Clash was showed or teased, they kind of switched onto the Zofia. So I guess they, just kind of prefer having that Twitch. She's a good operator. She has the F2, which is just amazing. She has the smokes. Why not have her? She even got a drone recently, a normal drone, like every other operator, while retaining her 2 Twitch drones. So there is that, right? And we will be seeing Master Bedroom first. Sorry, that was a horrible hand up. But what were you going to say?
Oh, no, I was just saying, yep, like I was agreeing with you about the Twitch thing. You were still good to go. I thought you were going to continue going on. I guess you were correct. Well, anyways, though, yeah, well, I'm really interested how Sumter are going to opt to play here. They look more confident so far here on Chalet. They're opting to castle barricade the double windows, which, I mean, it's not bad, but I feel like there's better options you can place those panels, maybe in towards the big window leading into master, or maybe get the piano on lockdown, perhaps, maybe allow for a bit more of an extension, perhaps. Yeah, because instantly double window gets opened up and someone can play on that rappel and probably net a couple of freebies as well. So a bit odd for Sumter, but not the end of the world. Just simply picking at straws here. Hopefully Dragonfire can pick at a couple of defenders here, as they are already inside of Library Hallway, and they might be able to get some damage done in towards piano, but no one's actually extended into that part of the map. They're positioned down at this point, but still plenty of map control early on for Iowa Central. A great start for the attacking side, to say the least.
Yeah, there just hasn't been any resilience shown from the defenders so far. They've all kind of been silent in this bomb side, but no one has actually, contested the attackers, and they were free to take whatever they wanted. And if Iowa can keep capitalizing on that, they can get round 1 in the back very early on. Crow is being shot at, but he's still at full HP, just as all the other 9 players in the lobby. But as I say that, Twitch will get the entry, Stop Looking At Me will fall, and that is the Cade with a C4 off the board. The Selmas are coming out from the Ace, though, and the breach is being opened as Castle actually equalizes the man count, and that is Mr. VAL on the Sledge falling. So no more grenades besides the 2 on the Finka for Iowa Central in this round.
Oof, beautiful Nitro Cell tossed out by Yosha as well, and Trail will now fall. Things are looking quite phenomenal here. Also, Sir Decky's out on a potential flank. No one's that close to him, though, as the Finka will now rotate up and around towards Blue Stairs to back up Dragonfire in case they end up dying on the Twitch. Unfortunately, no rotate hole being made in the right wall, but that's probably not going to be that big an issue here for USC Sumter. We will lose a bit of their HP, but luckily it is a exchange here against Hellbeetle. They're now at about 50 HP as well. 50 seconds now on the board with Central, still at that slight disadvantage, but they can definitely work some magic, as technically it is a 3-on-3 with Sir Decky not on the site, but they could definitely have a flank in their pocket, but they have got to act fast.
there's still so much utility, and it's finally being deployed by the attackers, but Smoke, or Mute, excuse me, misses all the SNG 11 shots and ends up getting punished for it. The Execute is coming through, though. Serdeki on the flank, the plan's going down, but Weebo pulls off a bit before being killed off regardless. Kuro is down, though, so it's effectively a 2v1. Dragonfire has clutched these out before. Why not this one as well, as the castle finally gets picked up, but he's not planting just yet. Twitch is just silently waiting for at least one pick before she tries planting. Nope, there we go. Once again, the L is still on the flank though, and she could destroy the planter if she wanted to. She just planted patiently, and the Twitch now has to hold the diffuser for 38 more seconds because you need 7 seconds to defuse. She's getting fired at from all angles. She finds the first one, looks in the right direction. Will she actually find the second one as well? Reloads, doesn't get the second one, or rather does. No, she doesn't. Excuse me. She gets taken out by Serdeki. Anyways, and the first round going to USC Sumter once again.
At least they were able to hold their own for the time being, and the coordination at the end of that round was pretty nice as well. They had a crossfire set up. They probably could have had all 3 players stack up at the exact same time and kill the Twitch, but, you know, still enough to suffice. They'll get round 1 in the books as a victory, and they will now opt to go in towards the basement, which has been in play much more in comparison to how often it was played when Shelly recently got reworked all that time ago now. Not so recently. Yeah, more of like a few seasons ago at this point, I believe it to be. Odd pick onto the Caveira. That was a, you know, last second pick though. It was more of a random op. So maybe we'll have that 6 picked off. Looks like Yosha is thinking about it. And yeah, they'll go on the Jaeger instead. Some flash denial. Actually, no, it's on the OMI, but they do the exact same role, so it's not that big of a deal. So a much better pick overall. Caveira, she's kind of high risk and mostly no reward a majority of the rounds. So this is going to favor Sumter tenfold throughout the entire round and not just bits in comparison to the Caveira pick.
Yeah, I look it up really fast. When do you think Shelly was reworked? Year, season? Go.
I believe it was year 6, season 2, right? Or season 3?
Year 5, season 3, man. It's been so long.
What?
We're going into year 6. Yeah, Shelly rework has been out for so long now. We've been seeing it in play. You know, you've casted it for so long, even in Collision.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's crazy. It's I hate to cut you off, but it's
good.
Funny you mentioned that. Right when I started watching Benelux, that's when the map got reworked, and that was about a year ago. So that does make sense, Boxy. Thank you for looking that up.
Shout out to our Benelux friends. They are amazing. But back to round number 2. Let's see if Iowa Central can actually put this one in the bag. It's currently 1-1 map-wise, and whoever wins this one takes out the entire series home. So far, Iowa Central have been stronger throughout both maps, but Sumter have had their fair share of good rounds. Can they keep up the streak, though? The grenades are coming out, and they will not get any kills as of yet on entry.
Really being done except this back wall trying to be opened up here, but the Kai trick is pretty much on the mark here. That's 2 Selmas off the board, only 1 left in the pocket of Weeaboo, so that's going to be enough to get maybe 1 entryway opened up. But even if they rotate around, they have to funnel in through that back doorway leading in towards wine rooms. Really not a lot of entryways that can be established by Iowa Central. They have the Sledge and Ash up on the middle floor, so they could play for vertical, but we haven't seen that attempted really any of these rounds throughout the entire best of 3 series. So I will doubt that'll happen today. If it actually does occur in these next couple moments, I will be ecstatic. But until then, I remain to have this poutful face on my mind until we actually have it come to fruition, Boxy.
We need that emote. But regardless, I don't know if you've seen it. Think a second grenade missed and the Electroclaw on the wall wasn't taken out. The second set of grenades, though, on Sledge was roaming inside, deep inside of the map already. So I'm not sure if Sledge actually pulls out. The attackers are just kind of crouched around the map looking for any entry picks, and they may find one just as soon. But on the Ivy Stairs, Ash goes on a drone at a very bad time. Luckily, she wasn't caught out by Serdeki, who's just playing this very patiently. Still at 10v10 with just over a minute left on the clock. The Thinka boosts are coming out for the attackers, but there have been no entry picks so far. There hasn't been any side control established. There haven't been any breaches established. Everyone's just kind of crouching and sneaking around, and the Banshees get activated, which is a sound cue, and that is why OMI will swing, do a little bit of damage, but get chipped off way more than he did. The discs are coming out. He could at least know those impacts. Maybe the entry comes out from the Cade, but an Ash gets immediately refrag onto the Wamai. Cade falls as well, and it's just a sea of loot. It's all up to Surdeki to clutch this one out, and he's not even on the side. He's still floors above. He drops down the stairs, but he needs to find 4. The plant is coming down. He finds the first one. Can he get 3 more, fellow? The plant is nearly stuck. 35 seconds left. Surdeki doesn't know what to do. He shoots a few drones, but that will not be enough. So little time to work with. So many heads to find here, as he has to find both Ace, Finka, and Sledge. He hears one, but will he act on it? Well, there's 2 drones just looking at him. He shoots both, but he's wasted so much time on those drones. He finds another one, and it's a 1v2 now. It's very doable. Pre-fire coming out. He knows where at least in the back, but he actually gets a triple. This lot now, he has to push. 20 seconds left. Just find the last one. Yellow pings are coming out. He does a little bit of damage, but it hasn't been enough. Oh, no! Can you get it? No, Mr. Valak finally shuts it down after almost a 1v4 clutch coming out from the Malusi fellow. This should not have been as close as it was.
He somehow manages to win out that altercation simply due to the fact that the Malusi ran out of ammunition in both her MP5 and her RG-15. Such an upset because they had information via a camera by either the Valkyrie or a default that wasn't destroyed by the attacking side. And simply put it, if they were not able to win their 1-for-1s, that would have been a completely different storyline, because Sumter, they were anchored up in sight in the last minute. They technically got the first pick, which was eventually traded out, but they still had plenty of powerful positions to stop a push from both main stairs and blue, yet they faltered because they overextended and allowed 1v1s to go their way. Now, we saw the exact same thing happen where Surdeki basically had several different 1v1s he had to fight in through and ended up winning almost all of them but one. Still, though, that is something you should not be putting yourself into for either side. Play as a team. It is a team-based game for a reason. You should not be trying to go for these single hero plays to try to get the round win in your back pocket. It's a reattempt here in towards the basement site, Boxy, and I am quite concerned for mostly Iowa, because I feel like they made more mistakes overall in comparison to Sumter, except with Sumter they ended up making the bigger mistake overall, which was just allowing Iowa Central to walk all over them those last 40 seconds.
I mean, someone needs to sit down Iowa Central and explain the concept of crossfires to them. And do you want to explain them to us, maybe?
It's just having multiple people set up in a position where they can look down the exact same angle, so if one person dies, there's a refrag, therefore either equalizing or having the man advantage still in your pocket, one or the other.
Exactly, beautiful, thank you, and that is something that Iowa just haven't done, and that's why they lost 3 attackers in that post line in just 45 seconds. It came down to a 1v1 that Surdeki almost won. It should not have been as close as it was. I will say that again, should not have been as close as it was, but somehow, some way, Iowa Central almost brought it back, or rather, Iowa Central did end up winning it. Sumter almost brought it back, but we will be seeing the basement defense once again. Hopefully the Cade Claw charge, or Electroclaw, what am I saying? Removal goes smoother for the attackers this time, as they had some trouble getting the nades through the drone hole last time around. The Sledge, who had the other set of grenades, once Finka used theirs, was just roaming around, they could not be utilized. Surdeki is on the Roma game, and Kuro is actually ready for a main stairs push this time around, also assisted by the Wob Wob you see on those stairs.
So I'm pretty sure he hears some sort of audio call, not aware as to where exactly that could be. It's actually Encrio, who's now dropped in towards main. Finally break that Banshee just in a close enough proximity to not get shot at by the Valkyrie we were just talking about moments ago. So a bit of map control being established here by Iowa Central, yet there is still someone playing on the very top floor, and I believe that to be possibly Surdeki, as we saw Kuro rotating back in towards the site. So that's most likely the option here for the defense of Sumter. Other than that, we are once again at a stalemate. We've seen Iowa Central, in a very similar situation last round, but they were allowed to get 1-for-1 gunfights after this rotation occurred in towards wine. So if they are not gifted an exact same opportunity, this could actually be a pretty formidable round win here for Sumter. But there we have it, a 1-for-1 goes down, and Encrio is the one to win out that gunfight, and it's a second one now for Iowa Central, as they almost have site control completely boxed.
Ooh, Finka just sprints in, gets a double of her own. The Adrenal Surge coming in clutch, gets a triple. Can she make it for just Sardaki once again? And I'm getting deja vu here, fellow. The plan is going down. He finds 1 and 2 once again. The second one is just down, and he can get picked up by the Finka when her Adrenal Charge resets. But the plant has been stuck, and now Mr. Valk has crawled into a safe position. He's about to bleed out, but he can just be a down but not out camera for his team. It's still a 1v4 on paper, and just establish those crossfires. The hatches pop. There's no Claymore stopping Mr. Daki just yet, but he still needs to find so many frags. Can he do it twice in a row? He fell just short of it last time. The time is going to be the main disadvantage going into this. He finds another one. That's a double for him. One is still down. Slash actually got picked up, but Weeaboo is there to finally put an end to Mr. Daki for the second round in a row, where he was left alone in a 1vx situation and find quite a few frags.
And
round.
you talked about crossfires. A good example would be having someone on main stairs or fireplace stairs, whatever you want to call it, and they're watching the blue doorway, because we've seen a wine push and also the blue, but no one going in through fireplace at all. If we just had somebody back up, I believe it was Yosha who was on the Wamai playing in the basement floor near blue, then we would have probably had a much more effective round for Sumter. And then we had Finka just waltz into sight for free. Just no one there to stop her. No double peaks being established because Yosha had their hands tied in blue. It led to an amalgamation of issues yet again for Sumter. And despite the fact that they are set up in pretty okay positions for the execute, they're again just losing 1-for-1 gunfights. They'll now be able to go back up above, though, inside of Master. And once again, I feel like we're seeing the same problem for Sumter, that they are not really comfortable on Chalet, because one of the most picked sites of Barn Gaming for Chalet has not been picked a single time here by Sumter, which is incredibly odd. Yet they're just rolling with Master Better and Basement, and that's only it. And I really don't know why.
Well, you know, I'm somewhat of a bar hater myself. It's just a personal preference.
Whatever.
I just don't like the side. You sounded so disappointed. Oh my god. I like watching it in comp play. I just don't like playing it personally. Maybe the same goes for USC Sumter. But then again, if you're playing this game competitively, if you're not just a ranked here like I am, and lost at that, you know, you need to be able to play all of those meta bomb sides. And Barn stock have been gaining popularity for so long now that you really need to be able to add it to your repertoire. But let's see if somehow, someway, Office Master can be defended, and if Sumter can equalize the round count out. Now, Iowa Central have gotten two very, I don't even know how to say this, very dominant attack rounds in, and while Sir Daki almost ended up clutching both of those, they still swept everyone on the defense besides Daki so early on. They just won all of their ones, and I don't know if Sumter can just stay alive for a little longer and not lose their 1v1s, get a few refrags in, these rounds would be going in a totally different fashion.
You know, it's funny, I can hear the cogs turning in your head, and I am feeling the exact same way, Foxy, so I do not blame you. As we go back in towards Master, it looks to be the exact same option here for Iowa Central, just kind of crouch walking in a library and beginning to maybe get the back wall opened up. The only problem is that there is a Cade Claw kind of denying them of that 1 point of entry, so they are going to have to maybe play underneath, get a grenade to toss that out. Speaking of nades, one is landed almost directly towards Stop Looking At Me. Luckily, he's not completely dying out, so you can sit in that awkward position in piano until someone breaks that snow balcony castle barricade. Deki is also still on the flank like he was earlier, this time on the Mozzie rather than the Ella. So that could be a big element of surprise once again for Sumter. That could maybe give them the upper hand, but Encrio just in a brilliant spot gets rid of one. There's finally Deki through all the way to the basement floor, gets rid of a player trying to hop in through main balcony. There's a frag as well landed by the Kaid. Mr. Velik will finally hop in towards piano, but at what cost? A big loss of life there. 50 seconds left on the board. Velik almost spots out one, but no, he's gonna miss some critical shots. Velik now in a sliver HP. I believe a Nitro Cell almost blew him up sky high. There is a refrag here by Have Fun, but there is still a lot to be done in this round, especially if they want to try to go for a plant boxing.
The Finka's team are coming out, but it's just 30 seconds left. 3v3, and once again, a standstill. Hellbeetle falls, but he's actually refragged by You Must Have Fun, so it's effectively a 2v2, and it's all up to Mr. Valak now to try and clutch it up. He's still on extremely low HP from that C4. Finka helped a little bit, but it's a 1v2. Surdeki has been unstoppable. He's currently 10-2, and if he doesn't win this round, I don't know what I'll do. The plant starts coming out, but he pulls off for some ungodly reason. There's only 8 seconds left. You need to stick that plant. There's no one actively pushing you. There's also no utility inside a defender as far as I know. The plant gets stuck, he swings out, there's still that bulletproof camp spotting him, and there actually was some utility, but it misses. Pistol out now, she gets pushed, doesn't even find one. It's the quad for Sir Decky, and I was just gonna criticize him on how this is the 3rd round in a row where he is roaming 2 floors away from the bomb site. When they were defending basement twice in a row, he was hiding in library, he was hiding in office. Now that they were actually defending office, he was hiding in basement. But somehow, some way, he actually came to the rescue faster this time. His teammates on the side actually survived for more than 10 seconds, and he got a quad off of that. So that's commendable. Keep doing that. But also, maybe don't roam that far off the side. It's not like I were really putting in all that drone work. We haven't seen much of that.
Boxy, do you know what the word monotony means?
Yes.
All right. Well, for anyone in chat who is not aware, monotony is a noun in the English dictionary, and it is the lack of variety and interest. It's tedious repetition and routine. We are seeing exactly that monotony time in and time again by both teams, and I cannot stand for this match. We have seen the exact same play twice in a row on both the attack in Master and Basement, where everyone for top 4 crouch walks in through library. There's no one to contest them, and then out of nowhere they get startled by a flank by Surdeki, either on the Mozzie or on the Ella, which is he is now opting for yet again on round number 5. And then we saw the round play out the exact same way. We have Iowa trying to waltz into sight, they get a plant down, and then they lose because they have the man disadvantage. And then I could almost guarantee, I will bet money that we're going to see the exact same thing happen by Iowa Central, where they just crouch walk around again in the top and middle floor, and then they just somehow find 3 picks instantly and get a plant down here on the basement floor, because neither one of these teams of Sumter and Iowa Central have adapted or changed a single thing. They have not done their homework. They have not been able to read into any of these situations properly to actually one-up their opponents. It's just simple stuff like, oh, no one denied the flank, so we get a freebie, or oh, no one denied us rushing down blue, so we get a freebie. It's just, it is such a headache to see the exact same thing happen over and over and over again, and quite frankly, I'm going insane just simply by looking at this happen multiple times, Boxing.
I mean, I was gonna say, isn't the definition of insanity doing the same thing and expecting different outcomes? Because that is exactly what we've been witnessing. But at least Surdeki is playing Ella on the side this time with the Scorpion specializing in taking on multiple enemies at once. Finka takes quite a lot of damage there, and Dragonfire is again just crouching down main. He does a lot of damage, but actually gets concussed by the Ella mine. The effect is reduced because it was Zofia, Ella's sister, running into that Gzmot mine. But you were right, they're just crouching around the map, and Fink is there to help out with that as well. There's not even any vertical play coming out. Well, you have fireplace control for Pete's sake. Somehow, though, the Ash Breach rounds are going down to 90 on blue, and they get rid of some utility there. The Breach has also finally been opened, albeit a little scuffed, but I think they can finally get through. Dragonfire takes a lot of damage there, though, and Finka has just once again crouched into the sides. She pops a steamy before she is swishing in. There's multiple angles to check, but no one's actually actively contesting her. She's just walking through the side free, but finally gets taken off by Hellbeetle. Dragonfire also taken down before or after being down, rather, and it's a 5v3 for defense. So I guess it's not the same song. Somehow Sumter are actually bringing it back, fellow.
By a miracle, and this is a better round for Central in my personal opinion, but Yosha has not died inside of blue, and no one's here to cover the plant. Decky finds one up above, I believe it to be, if not through vertical holes, shooting through the middle floor. Weeaboo has no one to help him with the plant as well, so this is just not a good spot at all for Iowa Central. We could have maybe Encrio try to cover, but he gets shut down quite effectively by Surdeki. Their 14th kill on map number 3, and they're looking to make it 15 potentially, as they are the closest one to snuff out Weeaboo. They have no one to help them with this plant, and they have to ace with only 30 seconds left to spare. This is not a great predicament to be in. And I really cannot get across my head how we
Oh,
saw this
no.
round be a win
Ooh.
for Sumter, despite the fact that this is a better round, theoretically, by the attacking side of Central. They played vertical. They opened up the back wall. They tried going for a plant, and they still had pressure in blue, yet they lose their gunfights. I don't know what to say. But Sumter, you finally won a round on the basement, and now you're going Barton Gaming. So you know what? At least I'm calming down a bit as we move out of the first half, Boxy, by a smidge.
Sumter have taken the lead for the, I believe, first time this series. Iowa are kind of trailing behind right now. They, I think, are running out of the gas in the tank slowly. But I've been saying this, even, watching SI 2022 these past few weeks. It's just really the era of crouch walking, and it's been prevalent for a long time. But nowadays, it feels like everyone on the map is crouching unless what they're doing actively prevents them from crouching. Otherwise, crouching is just default. You have either toggle or just your finger resting on the crouch button for the entire round, and that is exactly what Iowa Central are doing. And they're not even contested. They just walk down main stairs. They had two different people walk down main stairs into the bomb site. No banshees, no legion traps, no barbed wire, nothing. There was one single LMI, and even that was placed pretty much on the bomb chassis. By the way, one more thing, and then the round is over. What does it mean when you have 14 kills and the rest of your team has 7 in 6 rounds? What does that mean, fellow?
You're backpacking. You're carrying your team on your back. I mean, at least like the comps of Sumter aren't horrible. You got 2 shields for the extension. You got frost mats, which can catch people off guard. This is not bad. I would probably prefer a smoke in comparison to an Ella, but Surdeki has 14 kills. He can do whatever he wants, and he'll probably get away with it, to be honest. So I can't blame him in what he wants to bring out. Comfort can sometimes be king, and clearly Decky is proving that point in tonight's matchup. So maybe having someone else go on the smoke instead could be a better option. But like I said, the lineup by Sumter is fine. So is Iowa's to an extent. I feel like they're not utilizing both the Zofia and Ash enough to really qualify them to bring out both of them at the exact same time, maybe having a Nomad for flank watch or anything for flank watch, because that's the main reason why Surdeki has 14 kills. He's going to shoot you in the back for free and then rotate back to site when the push comes into play. And speaking of pushes, why are you running into site? Immediately have fun. Why? And you get down by a frost mat. No one's here to pick you up, and Yosha and Hell just line them up. It's a hook, line, and sinker for Sumter so early in round number 6. It's already a 5 versus 3, and I am speechless.
Why are you sprinting, Bio? Is pretty much my only question, but Valak finds another one, and that is the first one for his team so far. It's still doable. He swings, he misses the shots, and Kuro is able to pick it up, albeit he's now left on extremely low HP for the remainder of the round. It's all up to the Habana of Scummy Weibo and the Zofia of Dragonfire 23 to clutch this one out. The Zofia charges are coming out. He's going to push, and he needs to find those frags one by one. He has the LMG, which is an amazing weapon, and if he can do it with any weapon, it's going to be this one. But the drone comes out first, which is not a bad idea. Hellbeetle is going to be the first one of contention behind that very default shield. The shield gets taken out. Hellbeetle deals practically no damage in return. Zofia needs to push out now. She's focusing on the camera, which I don't know if it's the right call. You could have gotten your head taken down at that moment. The C4 is prepped, but it somehow misses, and now Dragonfire needs to get rid of it. No, still takes so much damage from that. You just gotta shoot that, man. Point and left click. Why are you not doing that? Now you have to push down those Ivy stairs on such little HP, and you're running out of time. Meanwhile, Weibo just on the other side of the map. I'm not exactly sure where he is, but he has the case, and they're not even playing refrags. Hellbeetle just playing this patiently with the shotgun, and he's been putting in so much work with it. There we go. Finally, Weibo spots one. That's the opening that they needed. Nice headshot there, but it's just 30 seconds left on the clock, and nothing to do here, fellow.
Surdeki's still alive as well. That is the basically raid boss of this round. Kuro will fall because Weeaboo's waiting quite patiently. There's Hellbeetle though. Dragonfire's here to drop. There's no one here to cover the plant. And look at the vertical denial by Surdeki. Right place, right time, and right amount of shots landed to get the job done. Habana will fall, and that's 15 kills now for Surdeki. Overall though, not a lot of impact done by the L on that round. That was a very team-orientated round by Sumter. They had an idea they should have somebody watching for that instant site rush because Iowa Central tend to get a bit sloppy on their approach, and it paid off. A 4-2 split while defending Chalet, that's really good. Although we have seen a more defender-favored best of 3 tonight, Boxy, still, fantastic job by Sumter. So you got to give them at least that. However, Iowa Central, it's now going to be an uphill battle. And this lineup is just, I don't even know what to say. No Jaeger, like 80 billion pieces of trap util. I think they are. I don't even know what to do. I have no words. I once again, I'm speechless. I'm trying to explain this to the best of my abilities, and I simply cannot. Simply can't.
You know, we all have these matches, but I think it's really just up to Iowa Central to clutch this one up. They have proven that they can do. They have almost came back from a 5-1 split on the first map, and I think they can do it again, but it's really up to how they play these last few rounds. It's extremely crucial then to pull it together, because sometimes they've been 50-50. On this round they play, it's like a coin toss. Sometimes they do well, sometimes they don't do well, but Iowa Central, they do well for like 5 rounds in a row, and then they don't get any rounds for like 5 rounds in a row. They just kind of oscillate, and they keep switching between the two. So if they can somehow pull it together for these last few rounds in Shelley, they can absolutely force overtime, and then maybe even win it out. Sumter have every imaginable advantage so far. Also, Thorn being brought once again, and the first thing she does is she throws one of her chargers outside on the EO balcony, hoping to catch someone on the ladder off. Though usually, if you're an attacker, you will just rappel up anyways. You will not really use the ladder because it just renders you unable to shoot, and that is just leaves you so vulnerable that it's not worth it most of the time.
That is a really cool Thorn catch spot, though. Might catch Kerr off guard? Nope, they had a
Oh.
picture rating for it, so pretty nifty way to actually deny that, too. Hey, at least we have some sort of creativity here, although they probably saw that on some sort of like Jaeger himself video. Still, really cool, though. I'm not going to lie. Since Thorn is technically not in play, everywhere else in the comp pool, you don't get to see stuff like that all the time from a caster's point of view. Anywho, Sumter, they've got a big emphasis here on the main balcony. That's to be expected. You can get a lot done from that position, yet they also want to try to get control of library so they can try to clear out that position in towards piano. Before they can do that, they have got to get rid of Dragonfire first and foremost. They are extended quite heavily and will lose a lot of health because of that. Not in a good position to actually win out that 1v1 gunfight. I believe they got spotted out possibly outside near mezzanine, but we're not entirely sure about how that loss of HP actually came into full effect. About a minute 30 on the board here on Sumter. They're in some pretty good positions, and they also find the first blood as well. So this is a phenomenal start so far by Sumter, really dotting their I's and crossing their T's to a perfect degree.
Yeah, if they can just keep it up, this is an easy round for them, but we've seen them throw huge advances, and there we go. Stop looking at me. Will be the one to fall, and that's the Thermite. I don't think the breach has been opened yet, fellow, meaning that the USC Sumter now need to push in the site without any breaches open. Dragonfire swings out once again, takes a little bit of damage. I don't think that's wise, but you do you, boo. I guess you know better. Anyways, he hasn't found a kill yet, and he's on about 25 HP for the remainder of the round. He just needs to waste time because he's not going to get kills on that low of HP. I think he's pushing him, though. A nice shot from Sir Decky. There we go. He's finally activated. He increases the man count advantage for his team once again, and it's just 45 seconds left, with attackers still having so much work to do, even if it is a 4v3 in their favor.
Despite the fact they don't have the main breach opened up, they have more than one way of entering the site. They've got backup from, I believe it is Yosha, who's on the OSA. Banshee will now indicate one player's position. Must have fun, needs to win this gunfight, and must survive inside of office if he wants his team to win out this 7th round here. There goes the prone play. A nice shot landed by Must Have Fun. That's Case drop now for a second time on the round as the Kaid will just try to play behind the cobblestone half wall in order to play with that natural cover. Weeaboo goes on a flank for Sir Decky. It's now yet another for the defensive side. Yosha, the last one to stand, and they've got to work for picks. It's just the Osa left alive to stand, and it's going to be Encreo wrapping around near bathroom, and at the final pick of the round, just a discombobulated attack overall by the side of Sumter, and the way they tried dealing with the Kaid was very just weird and ineffective, quite clearly, as they didn't even tie on that round.
If I've learned one thing throughout this entire best of 3, John, it's that entry kills apparently don't win rounds, because we've seen so many times where someone got the early advantage, and I'm talking about, the first 30, 40 seconds, even spawn peaks and such, but somehow, some way, they always seem to throw it. And I don't know, in theory, you should win a round when you get the entry. I'm actually super interested in the stat. I will look it up, and I'll have it ready for you next time, I promise, because, that worked for CGG. But
Attackers need to
I don't
locate and
know how you
defuse
just
as many
keep
bombs as
throwing
they
the
can.
advantages away, and it's not something you can afford to do at a competitive level, especially when you're on the decider map on the 8th round of it nonetheless.
You know, shouts to Akazo as well in the Twitch chat, keeping my mental in check for I really
What is
don't
he
know how much
saying?
longer. Him and I are just conversating between one another in the chat currently, so that's a bit fun to look at. So moving into round number 8, looks like we're heading in towards the basement floor here for Iowa Central as they just won on the top floor. I feel like for Sumter, their attacks have been much better in comparison to Iowa's, yet they are still making drastic mistakes, especially in the late round execute. I feel like that's where they've been at their weakest to begin with. We saw a lot of issues being made when they were in the post plant inside of the site on Clubhouse, and now towards the last minute of the round before they can even get the plant down, they are still making plenty of mistakes. That early game though, it's been relatively decent. So if they can keep that forward momentum from the early game and just transition that in a smoother manner when they're going in towards site execute, they should be able to wrap out map number 3 sooner than what we expect. I'm not too sure if we'll see that quick adaptation happen by them, especially since Iowa Central, they are now opting to go for a very anchor-favored setup, which could actually deny Sumter's intentions of getting in towards the site early on in a pretty effective way.
The Gaskin traps are being spotted though and shot out, so is the Gonsigs being used by the Fink early on, and the grenade, she just going full force. The Electroclaw has been destroyed. That means that the breach can come out, and this time around, the Heartbreacher is actually still alive. I don't know why they're using Fink as nades for, though, when they have a Maverick. Seems like a little bit of a waste there, especially when Fink has been so powerful with those vertical nades that we've seen, especially across Invite, but even before that in Pro League. Therm might take just a little bit of damage crossing that doorway, but he's lucky he's made it out with his HP alive. And the second Thermite charge is going to be coming out as Finka gets the entry for Sumter once again, but it's up to Iowa Central to clutch this out. We have seen him do plenty of times before, and if they get this round, fellow, it's going to be a 4-4 on the round count.
And thankfully, they've got Kerr up above as well. The flank watch on the Nomad, going to be able to deny any flanks from actually happening here. So that's at least a sigh of relief for Sumter, because they are going for a very linear take. They've got the man advantage and they've got plenty of sightlines to work with. It's just a matter of if they can get in towards the objective and potentially go for that plant. Must Have Fun will lose a bit of their HP now to fall back, but actually opt to still hold a relatively aggressive angle. I don't blame him entirely, as you have to work for a pick, but this might not be the right position to actually do that. They've got a nitro cell in pocket, so maybe if they toss it at the right time and the right place, they could manage to deal some major damage in the smoke, begin to impair their vision. This is looking to be a pretty challenging position to actually deny a plant from happening in these last few seconds.
The Cage still has the C4 in his pocket, and the smoke is a perfect opportunity for him to use it, but he's not doing that. And there we go, the Jaeger will get down as the execute from Sumter is commencing. Cage gets one though, and a grenade comes out on a refrag. It's a 4v3 now, but it's a sea of fluid. 18 kills out, comes out on the Fink. It's a 3v2 now, but Weeaboo is on such low HP. The LMG is just firing on all cylinders, but now they need to reload. It's a 3v2 as the plan starts commencing, and it's effectively 2v2, and there we go. The Sophia finds one. It's all up to the Jaeger to clutch this one out as the plan finally sticks. On such low HP, I don't think Jaeger can clutch this one out, even with the 416 rifle in hand. Let's see if he can maybe try at least get one pick, maybe boost the stats a little bit, but it's looking like a Sumter round at this point. Nope! Sophia's ready on the long angle with the 2.5 scope with the LMG, and it's all just falling apart from Iowa Central, fellow.
You know, at least they were able to adapt in some way, shape, or form. They didn't have their heart breach die off the rip. They had flank watch established. You know what? Not bad by Sumter. I would have liked to have seen less of a linear take, but you take what battles you can get as a win and leave it at that. One round away from match point, potentially series point as well. Not horrendous here for Sumter. And luckily for them, we're going to have a repeat of Wine and Snowmobile. So they could honestly replicate the exact same strategy and get away with basically robbery moving in around number 9, to be honest, because the flank couldn't do anything, and the sight lines gathered by the attack were just way too strong for Iowa Central to try to bite back at all. So, you know what? If they just go for the exact same thing again, I wouldn't hate it. Funny enough, I would not be an anti-fan. I would actually quite enjoy it.
I mean, it's slowly, like, you know, it's slowly becoming like one of those situations. It's like stealing candy from a baby. Because, I don't know, Iowa Central, they seem to always be in a good predisposition, but they somehow lose their ones. They throw away the easy adventures. And once again, I just want to point out that Cade, on that aggressive angle, he got smoked off. He had the C4 in pocket. That was the easiest C4 toss of his life. And wherever he tossed it, whether the breach, either of the breaches actually, or the door, that would have been a guaranteed kill for him. But instead, he just kept swinging and eventually lost his life. And that is not something you can afford to do. Please, for God's sake, use your utility before dying. That is gonna be such a massive game changer for you in Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. I promise you, secondary utility isn't there for naught. But Dragonfire, here's the Claymore, here's the drones. Hasn't been spotted on the open hatch though, and he's just patiently waiting. Maybe he can get an entry. He backs off just a little bit, just in case anyone pushes that trophy window, and that may actually be the case. But no, Zophia's just crossing it. Could have been dangerous, but he's gonna keep his hat on for now.
I'm not too sure if they at least heard Dragonfire near the hatch, because it's very audible when you hear somebody close to a hatch like that. Speaking of Dragonfire, though, he's been 2 and 8. Not really been doing a lot. And he was the top fragger, I think, for Iowa Central, if not the secondary top fragger. So having him remain very quiet on this round is definitely concerning for any Iowa Central fans in the chat here. Nade gets tossed out, and I think the second one completely missed its mark. And yep, it did. We just managed to catch it there on the OBS. So it looks like we're not going to have this Mute Jammer taken care of. I mean, why do you not have Maverick just Mavericking the wall, man? Why do you not? And they think they cleared it out, but it was a concussive blast. They are just wasting Util. They are really just... Stop it! Oh my god.
No,
that took way too long. And the Cade is no Electro Claws in pocket.
So close.
I think he had one on the hatch boxy and one on the back wall, if not both of them on the back walls. So they just wasted so much utility, but they still got the wall open. It's just, I don't even know we just watched there, man. That was just the most painful thing to see.
It's like watching us play ranked, and we're like, you know, I'm a mid-plat, you're a gold?
Yeah, with like, what, 12 games played? Yeah.
Pretty much.
Did play for that.
Okay, well, I haven't even done those yet this season, but back to the round. Dragonfire will be flanking around, and he will spot the drone out. It's the Insurer, though, getting the entry frag on the Captain once again. He's been looking pretty dominant with that gun in hand today. He's waiting on those main stairs, waiting for a double, but he decides to just retract back into side, contest the breach a little bit, which isn't a bad idea, but also don't openly swing breach like that. I beg of you. It's just the Nomad swinging that breach, though, and she finally gets the cam. She gives her position away. There we go. It took a little bit, but we got it down, and I'm proud of you. 35 seconds left, and everyone is just rotating around the map. Dragonfire has been roaming for quite a while now, but he doesn't even need to roam anywhere because everyone is outside of the map, fellow.
They're going on an incredibly late rotation, but we actually might be able to have this work out here because the trench door is open. No one's actually watching for this backside play. If they had bombed, they could actually have gotten the diffuser down. Sir Decky wins a very important gunfight, close to 20 kills, matter of fact. Here comes push from the backside as well. Sir Decky now 20 overall. Encrio finds their third, and Sir Decky will finally be dropped. 1 versus 3 here for Yosha, and they have simply no time left to clutch the 1 versus 3. It'll be a round win for Iowa Central, but we are still 1 round away from match point and series point. So I wouldn't be able to completely give this down for Iowa Central just yet. We cannot be holding our breaths as we will most likely end up choking ourselves. But oh my goodness, that round boxing, it's just that round.
I don't know. It's like, why is everyone going on a field trip around the map with 35 seconds left? You've opened the breach. You've even established a little bit of control above. Why are you just rotating everyone? Everyone.
If they had Sir Decky with Case, they actually could have planted and they might have won. There is a small chance they actually would have won that. I kid you not.
I don't know, like you said, 1 point off of series point, but also 1 round going in the other direction off of Iowa Central tying this up. And at this point, I don't know which one's more likely. They keep trading punches back and forth, and just when you think one is on top for sure, the other one swings back up, and somehow they get it. I honestly don't even know what to predict, you know, usually in the first few seconds of a round of prep, you kind of predict what's going to happen, but this game has been absolutely unpredictable, to be frank with you, fellow. So, what do we speak about right now? I have no clue.
Sir Decky, you got 20 kills? That's pretty cool. It's pretty neat. I mean, other than that, though, I mean, it's just... The only one who's, like, there are only 2 people with double digits It's have fun and Serdeki, and there is a 10 kill differential. So there's a team that's very top heavy and a team that's even more top heavy. It's just it's a very hard pill to swallow, especially for myself too. So I don't know. Both Sumter and Iowa Central are just making the same mistakes over and over again. It's just who makes the bigger mistake on the round. That has simply been it. It doesn't matter who finds the opening pick. It doesn't matter who gets what in map control. It's just who makes the bigger mess of themselves on what particular round they're playing. That has simply been it every single time. It does not matter how well Serdeki can shoot. It does not matter how well Iowa Central can defend the site. It just matters on who makes the biggest blunder, and that's it.
You keep mentioning Serdeki, and I just quickly want to interject. Yes, he has 20 kills, but keep in mind, like 6 of those were gained when he was on those two consecutive 1v4 clutches on basement. And you might very well call them, you know, impactless frags. It's baiting out your team, not literally, but also everyone was dead while you were doing absolutely nothing on the other side of the map. So gotta keep that in mind. It's very different from getting 20 very impactful kills, but still, the man has shown that they can gun, and so, you know, gotta give it to them, at least on that front. But it's still a 5v5. The C4 has already come out from the mute. Didn't quite connect. Screamy Weibo does get thrown out, but just decides to retract back into the basement. Dragonfire, though, is careful on those Ivy stairs. He hears someone who's ready for the angle, but they don't push just yet.
It looks like they've got a Claymore to watch that backside, so not going to have to worry about that unless they're able to hear the Claymore get shot. I'm not too sure if the roamer was aware of that position, though. Looks like we can get the main wall opened up, unless the K-Claw... Oh, no, he does not have toggle on his thermite charge. Yeah, I highly recommend you have toggle on when you're playing any kind of util-based operator such as thermite, because you just wasted a thermite charge for free. At least Deki has been able to waste away Dragonfire, someone who has been awfully impactless in the majority of this matchup here on Chalet. At least last match was pretty powerful. Yosho with a powerful angle gets rid of Fun. So now it's a 5 versus 3. You could almost guarantee site control here in these next couple of seconds. And then so Thermic Charge will now guarantee you've got that. Serdeki waiting for the rotate. It'll actually bode well for him. Now 22 kills for the Finka player, and a retake essentially will have to come into play by both Weeaboo and Entrio, as they are nowhere near close enough to deny a plant from happening. That will give away Stop's intentions, I believe it to be, as the plant will now be confirmed. 4 versus 1 as Weeaboo will net a singular pick, but they need to get all 5 to get this round on the board and deny a match point from happening here.
Yeah, the Melissa went for the 360 just to get that little modifier buff, but that's not going to be enough. She needs to actually swing people instead of just looking out the window, and she's not even going to look in the right direction. Yes, she will, but no one's swinging her at the moment. They're playing it very patiently. They got to give it out to UCS Sumter, as, you know, they're playing this post plan perfectly, unlike their previous one. Bakuro on the window just finishes the last kill, and it honestly just puts Iowa out of their misery. And what was fascinating this round, fellows, is that I think at least 4 of the kills for the attackers, they all happened by the attackers positioning themselves on windows and on pixels, and then just being stationary there, and the defenders just came running into their crossfires, and that is not something that you can have happen. The amount of people that got shot in the backs unsuspecting throughout this series has been absolutely flabbergasting. And I don't know. I know we're beating a dead horse at this point, but what's going on, man?
We could look at the positives. I think we'll do that. We actually saw some change by Sumter. They actually blowtorched open the wall to office so they could grenade the electroclaw. That's way better. They're utilizing Maverick util more effectively, or at least altogether, because there have been some rounds where Maverick simply does nothing except maybe throw nades or get a pick with the M4, and that's simply it, which should never be the case. And unfortunately, it's a reattempt by Iowa Central on this top 4 site, which I'm not a big fan of. I expect there to be like one roamer, and that's it. Everyone else will just be trying to hold the exact same default positions. So this is already from the get-go not boding well for Iowa Central. We could definitely see a 7-4 victory here for Sumter, so long as they just do the exact same thing they did last round, honestly.
Absolutely. I think, I've said this before at the beginning of the map, and I think it still stands. I think Iowa Central just ran out of gas. They looked so resilient. You even said, you said that you want to point out how the stamina that they have, that they just seem to be sweeping away with USC Sumter early on, but now I think their tank is empty. They gave it their all, and it wasn't enough to beat USC Sumter early on in this matchup, especially on this third map. And I think their gas is honestly, their gas tank is honestly just empty. They have no more to give. They have nowhere to take the energy from, and we'll see. Maybe Scummy via surprises. He is playing on the tight angle. He decides to retract away. That is actually a solid idea. We've seen the defenders on both sides, especially the roamers, kind of overextend their stay or extend their welcome and get punished for it. But he will live to fight another day. He's getting pushed out from Games Room, though. Do you think he gets the kill here?
Well, it looks like he'll fall back yet again. His position was not known, so I would have actually probably preferred him to hide and stalk, but he'll try to be useful somewhere else, maybe going on a flank later on, because we have seen Sumter opt to go for these back takes a couple of times. Yosha will get downed by, I believe, an EDD, and will get revived pretty quickly by a Finka boost. So not that big of a deal, except now Yosha will have to be very picky as to when and where he wants to go for these gunfights. Looks like the Maverick will try to break this Electro Claw off the back wall, maybe ricochet a grenade to have that shrapnel open up a point of entry here for the Thermite. So pretty much the exact same stuff happening by Sumter, except the only difference is that no First Blood has actually favored either team just yet, but they're still getting that hard destruction down. They've gotten plenty of map control in their back pocket, so this is not horrible at all, except for the fact that the Thermite had that pocket charge way too close to that Maverick opening, allowing an impact grenade to detonate and break one of his very vital pieces of kit.
He's gonna do it again, though, and there are still impacts in the pocket of Thunderbird, but she's not close enough to actually help. Deny Valkyrie playing below, she could potentially come out swinging with a few swings from below. She doesn't have the C4 anymore. I thought she had. Nope. 1 minute left, and You Must Have Fun will take a little bit of damage, but still all 10 people on the board here, Phil. I hear a C4 prepped. I don't know if you do as well. You Must Have Fun takes damage for the second time in a row, but he heals up on the Kona twice in just a few seconds. At least there's that 50 seconds left, and the push must start commencing, but a C4 from below. There we go. Dragonfire gets it. The Valk C4 was prepped, and the planter is dead. Hellbeetle will try sticking in once again. So that's a 3v4 onside, 3v5 even. What? There's no coverage, fellow. 30 seconds left. There's no plant. There's manpower deficit. There's just nothing going on for Sumter at the moment.
Oh my god, another Nitro Cell claims Kuro. He's now on the ground. At least Serdeki finds something for his team and a Finka boost to give another rally call for Sumter. They got to pick up the pace, put the pedal to the metal, yet they still die to a flank by the Malusi. Weeaboo finds their 10th on the round, leaving Yosha, the Sophia, 1 versus 4. They have another round to breathe potentially, but ending out this series here would have been great, yet they're not able to accomplish that. 3 Nitro Cells, and all of them having some sort of impact on the round. It is baffling that we had Iowa Central get away with that so well. But you know what? At least they read into the fact that the default plant was the biggest issue for them, so they tried to stop it by both impact tricking and having Nitro Cells preemptively placed to stop that plant. So you know what? Good stuff by Iowa, but Sumter, that is like the easiest trick in the book. How did you guys fall for it so well?
Well, I don't know what happens, but Sumter are in a very precarious position now because they either win the round, with it the map, and with it the series, or they lose this next round, the round number 12, and they are going to overtime. And that is not where you want to find yourself because, you know, you've had such a huge advantage. You somehow let Iowa claw their way back, and I think Iowa garners just enough momentum to give you a real good fight in overtime, and maybe even take it. We've counted them out so many times, but I think if there's a time for win, it is now. I think they can have their moment in the spotlight. They were so close to a comeback on Clubhouse. Can they do it on Chalet, fellow, to finish the series in overtime?
It's potentially possible. We've seen both Iowa and Sumter at least adapt slightly, not to a degree that I would like, don't get me wrong, but in some sort of manner which is better than nothing at all. So you got to give credit where credit is due. I think the only problem, though, for Sumter is that they have not really done that well when attacking this basement site. They are going to need to be much more proactive on their clear. I mean, the one time where we actually saw them win this basement floor was when they had the Nomad actively denying flank, and then they had 2 entry points into sight through the back of line. But I'm not too sure if Iowa Central are going to allow that to happen a second time here, because the second time we had this site in play, it was denied quite well by Iowa, and Sumter were just simply flustered and couldn't really do anything to stop the onslaught by their opposition.
Yeah, keep in mind, if they had the diffuser on them when they rotated all the way around the map, they very easily could have won that round as well. Even though it was very close, just having the case on the Finca pushing trenches would have been so very impactful. Zofia, though, will use her impact grenade to push into big garage with her team. She will get thrown in, and she will look for that entry pick. I'm not sure if anyone's playing on the trophy hatch, but that's something that you definitely need to check out, and maybe even Airjab off. The Nomad is close enough. Thermite is soon following suit. He enters the big garage. There we go. The hatch is open. The Claymore is out, so good catch, Max. Thank you very much for that. You've been absolutely amazing today. Anyways, a minute is gone now, and Dragonfire is on the roam. He could be the first point of contention, but he seems to be going back into Fireplace, just biding his time, wasting some time while at it, and maybe going for a later flank.
Well, minute 40 now on the clock. No one dying just yet. Looks like Hellbeetle is expecting some sort of drop down from the back hatch from Trophy leading in towards main garage. It's not going to happen just yet. Now moving in towards the second half of the action phase, and I believe the exothermic charge got denied by a Cade Claw, so a second one will now be prepped here by Stop Looking At Me in through the secondary wall to allow for a potential default plant. Although we have seen Stop Looking At Me be very squeamish on when they want to push in towards the site, at least for this basement floor. So we need to see some more assertion done by the Thermite and better backup by his team to actually allow that plant to go down, because they only have 60 seconds to work with here. So they definitely need to start, stop making a fuss about this push and just simply get the job done. And there it is, the first pick favoring the attacking side, and making a second one is now we have Decky and Kuro work wonders with both the ARX and LMG. 5 versus 2, and there simply is not a lot left for Iowa to try to deny this push from happening towards the site. It'll come down to a miracle play by some of the top fraggers of Iowa Central, both Weevu and Encrio, to try to guarantee match point and maybe have a chance to salvage map number 3 as a victory and maybe get that 2-1 reverse sweep, but only time will tell, simply put it. Finally, we have the Thermite enter the site, despite the fact it is a 5 versus 2. Plant going down. There is simply no way to deny this, as Sir Decky is watching so patiently, and it's a buddy ace by both the Finca and Nomad of Kuro and Sir Decky, and the match has finally been over. And it looks like we will have an interview lined up afterwards as well. Fingers crossed to be Sir Decky, because I would love to pick his brain about that best of 3 series, Boxy.
I honestly don't know, fellow. This was the second time in a row where Iowa Central fell just one round short off of going into overtime. Happened on the first map, which was Clubhouse. Happened on the decider map, which was Chalet. And, my heart aches for them. But then again, it seems that Sumter were just the better team today. They played better Siege, and they ended up winning it out, even if it was tied. And while they kind of had an off map on Villa, it was very obvious they didn't want to play. They didn't know how to play it. They still pulled ahead on the maps that mattered. They won the series 2-1, and I don't think you can say they didn't deserve the win today.
Yeah, no, I mean, they did just play a bit better than Iowa, and at the end of the day, it's all that matters. As long as you are better than your opponent, you'll most likely win it out. But we are going to have to go into a quick little break, get the interview ready for you, and then we will get to see what it was like for the players of, I believe it was Sumter. Yes, Sumter. God, names are really difficult tonight, Boxy. To see what their thought process was during that best of 3 series. Stick around if you're still interested in the interview, and we will be back in just a little while to get that interview actually underway.
Though, Sir Decky on the flank, the plant's going down, but Weevo pulls off of it before being killed off regardless. Kuro is down though, so it's effectively a 2v1. No, she doesn't. Excuse me. She gets taken out by Sir Decky. Anyways, and first round going to USC Sumter once again. While my will swing, do a little bit of damage, but get chipped off way more than he did. The discs are coming out. He could at least feel those impacts. Maybe the entry comes out from the cage, but an Ash gets hurt from my. Cade falls as well, and it's just a sea of blue. So Sir Decky punches one out, and he managed to find both Ace, Finca, and Sledge. He chooses one, but the echo. Those two drones just looking at him. He shoots both, but he's wasting so much time on those drones. He finds another one, and it's a 1v2 now. It's very cool. With 3 parts coming out, he knows where at least he actually gets a triple. pistol out now. He has to push. 20 seconds left. Just in the last one, yellow pings are coming out. He does a little bit of damage, but it hasn't been enough. Oh, no. Can you get it? No. Surge coming in clutch. Gets a triple. Can she make it for just Sardeki once again? And I'm getting deja vu here, fellow. The plan is going down. He finds one and two once again. The second one is just so many frags. Can he do it twice in a row? He fell just short of it last time. The time is going to be the main disadvantage going into this. He finds another one. That's a double for him. One is still down.
So that could be a big element of surprise. Once again, for Sumter, that could maybe give them the upper hand. But Encrio just in a brilliant spot to get rid of the one. There's finally Decky through all.
No one actively pushing you. There's also no utility inside of defender as far as I know. Flank gets stuck. He swings out. There's still that horse who can spot him. And that actually was some utility. But it misses. Pistol out now. She gets pushed. Doesn't even find one. It's the quad for Sir. Actually contesting her. She's just walking to the side free, but finally gets taken off to help him with the plant as well. This is not a good spot at all for Iowa Central. We could have maybe Encrio try to cover, but he gets shut down quite a bit. How we saw this round be a win for Sumter, despite the fact that this is a better round theoretically by the attacking for Central. They played first, so Decky has 14 kills. He was shooting in the back for free, and then rotate back to sight. Push comes into play. And speaking of pushes, why are you running into sight of me? You get down by a frost map. No one's here to pick you up, and Yosha and Hell. Basically, raid boss of this round. Kuro will fall because Weeaboo's waiting quite patiently. There's Hell Beetle, though. Dragonfire's here to drop. There's no one here to cover the plant. And look at the vertical denial by Sardeki. Right place, right time, and right amount of shots landed around here. There goes the prone play. A nice shot landed by Must Have Fun. That's Case drop now for a second time on the round as the Kaid will just try to play behind the cobblestone half wall in order to play that natural cover. Weeaboo goes on the flank and also Decky. It's now yet another for the defensive side. Yoshan is going to be Encrio wrapping around your bathroom, and that's the final pick of the round. Perfect cover, can use it, but he's not doing that. And there we go, the Jaeger will get down as he executes from Sumter risk commencing. Kate gets one though, and a grenade comes out on the refrag. It's a 4v3 now, but it's a seal fluid. 15 kills out, comes out on the like a soda round. Nope, Sophia's ready on the long angle with the 2.5 scope with the LMG. All just falling apart from Iowa Central. No,
way too long, and the Kate is no electric wasn't possible.
So close.
I think he had one on the hatch boxy and one on the back wall, if not going on a incredibly late rotation, but out here. The French door is open. No one's actually watching for this backside play. They have gone. They could actually have gotten the diffuser down. Sir Decky wins a very important gunfight. Close to 20 kills, matter of fact. Here comes push from the backside as well. Sir Decky now 20 overall. Encrio finds their third, and Sir Decky will finally be dropped. 1 versus 3 here for Yosha, and they have simply no time left to clutch the 1 versus 3. It'll be a round that will have to come into play by both Weeaboo and Encrio, because they are nowhere near close enough to riot plan from happening. That will give away stops. Intentions, I believe, to be is the point
the last kill, and but honestly just puts Iowa out of their misery. And the second time in a row, but he heals up on the kill twice in just a few seconds. At least there's that 50 seconds left, and the push must start commencing with a C4 from the rope.
Weeaboo finds their 10th on the round, leaving Yosha and Sophia 1 versus 4. They have another round to lose potentially, but ending up this series here would have been great, yet they're not able to accomplish that. 3 nights themselves, like it'll come down to a miracle play by some of the top fraggers from Iowa Central, both Weeaboo and Encrio, to try to guarantee match point and maybe have a chance to salvage that victory, maybe get that 2-1 reverse sweep, but Hotel simply put it. Finally, we have the Thermite enter the site, despite the fact that it was a 5 versus 2. Plant going down, there is simply no way to deny this, as Sir Decky is watching so patiently, and it's a buddy ace by both the Finka and Nomad of Kuro and Sir Decky. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We've got the post-game interview now ready for all of your viewing pleasures. It's going to be Decky, one of the top fraggers and, well, top players overall in the
Hmm.
best of three, to go and get his thoughts on the match we just saw ravel up underway. Decky, how are you feeling today after that win?
Pretty good. The team played really hard. We've come a far way, especially after losing last week. So I'm just proud of them working hard every day.
Fair enough, Boxy.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess my question goes to you specifically. We've just seen you on so many different operators. Whatever your team needed, you played. Even though you were the top fragger, you know, we've seen you on a Monty, we've seen you on a Sledge, a Capcan, we just seen you on pretty much everything today. Like, I think you had the most operators played. Is that something you usually do, or was it just kind of
No, yeah, I
coincidental?
normally do that. I try to figure out what's the best thing that my team needs. If I need to bring nades, and I bring the nades, whether that's from Finca, Sledge. I'll bring the Jackal out if need be. I just realized it was go time when we got to map 3, so I brought the monitor close to my face to start fragging out.
Okay, I guess it worked, didn't it, fellow?
Yeah.
Fair enough, man. So going in at number 2 for Villa, you guys just seemed a bit uncomfortable moving into that map. Have you guys really played a lot on that map, or is that kind of something you try to dodge with like a 10-foot pole?
Well, we try to dodge it. We knew we had to give them one map that we don't like. They kind of gave it to
Yep.
us in Bank last time we played them in preseason. We knew Villa was their map.
Uh-huh.
We knew what to expect, but it was our first time playing it. But we knew we could take it to Chalet again.
Oh, fair enough. At least you got the series secured out in a 2-1, which took a bit longer. Not the end of the world, but I mean, other than that, I guess that's mostly it. It was a very back and forth matchup, but again, congratulations. We'd love to pick at your brain a bit more, but we are a little short on time. So if there's anyone you want to shout out here before we ending out this interview, now is the time to do so. The spotlight is yours, so feel free to take it away, Decky.
Sure. I want to shout out everybody, my teammates, my coaches, my girl, my family. They're my biggest supporters. Get in here, boys. Hurry up for a long time. Josh, come on. If it wasn't for these guys, I couldn't drop 26. They really let me do everything I
Fair
can.
enough.
So hopefully we can bring it back up next week and start dominating again.
All right, best of luck to you in that endeavor. Take care, guys. Congrats on your win yet again.
Bye.
Say, well, Boxy, I think that concludes everything for R6 tonight. We've got Valorant coming up here in just a few short moments, so we will go and part ways for us here and try to get that underway as quickly as possible. I think they already have a map done, so it'll most likely be a 1-0 so far going into that, but it'll still probably be incredibly exciting to watch that. But all that being said, hope you all have a great rest of your night, and to stick around for some Valorant action, which will not have either one of us in here, but that's still completely fine. Have a great night, everyone, and hope to see you all again for some more esports U action here. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Hope you enjoyed the Rainbow Six Siege, but we're here for week number 4 of ECAC Valorant now. That's right, we got a best of 3 on the horizon. We're already one map in, Paul, right? That's UK Esports going up against Farmingdale. 2 3-0 teams means a good match for you and me. My name is Dor. I'm joined by the always wonderful Possible, and we know everything about collegiate, so we can't wait to bring more of it to you.
Oh, well, at least that's the goal. That's the goal, Dor. Well, let's, we got to figure out this match, though, right? Because University of Kentucky, Farmingdale, like you said, they're both 3-0. Farmingdale, as you can tell by the top of your screen right now, currently 1-0 up. They were able to take Ascent, which was the first map away, but we're going to hop on into Haven. 2 very different maps, obviously. Farmingdale, too, we saw them on stream last week where they were able to get a pretty contentious victory at that, but they looked good, right? I really liked their retakes, especially here on Haven, which was the first map of that series, arguably the most dominant one in favor of Farmingdale too. So I'm interested to see the pace that they set, because their retakes and their executes were very well coordinated last week.
Yeah, and we should talk about, what's on the line, right? Both of these teams being 3-0, this is how you set yourself apart in a group full of some really strong teams, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We talked earlier on before the call about